It's the KQ Morning Show, 92 KQRS.
I'm Steve Gorman. This is the KQ Morning Show. It's Wednesday, March the 20th. Good morning. You can't always get what you want by the Rolling Stones. The Rolling Stones, a band from London. You've heard of them. They're going on tour this year. It's 2024, and the Rolling Stones are going on tour. In case you didn't hear, if you follow Mick Jagger on Instagram, he's been posting regularly. Just yesterday, posted a video of himself. He's in his home studio. He's playing guitar along to a track, and he says, "Looking forward to seeing you when the tour starts next month." And this is not the first time he's done that. He's on Instagram several times in the last month saying, "Hey, tickets are on sale. Go pick them up. Let's go. We're looking forward to it." And every time he posts one of those videos, there are responses on Instagram going, "Kind of desperate, isn't it, Mick?"
What a huckster.
I'm like,
yeah.
Who have you not been paying attention to for 60 years?
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Does he really need to,
Well, yeah.
prostitute himself like that? I mean, I should be on Instagram going, "Hey, I'm out at this show this weekend." I don't even do it, man. It's people will figure it out. The Stones are on tour. Is he worried about not selling tickets?
No, but he knows that he's been doing that from day one. This is the band who announced a tour by rolling down Times Square on a flatbed truck playing a live gig in 1975.
Right.
Promotion is part of it. He's never, ever misunderstood. Keith is the guy who's like, they'll show up if they want. Mick's like, yeah, that's great, but I'd like to pay everybody's bill this month, so let's make sure we sell tickets. I'm just saying it's a different approach. Mick Jagger has literally no hang-ups about doing that sort of work. Keith Richards, this is where my brain goes when I see this. I love Mick. I love Keith. I love the Stones. If you look at video of the Stones back in the 60s, Keith is still trying to find his way. If you watch interviews or like rock and roll circus performances, different things from the late 60s, as the Stones were becoming the Rolling Stones in all capital letters, Keith was he was slowly turning into Pirate Jack, that guy that we all know. But early Keith was a pretty self-conscious fella. Like, look, he's looking down. He's got a goofy grin. You can tell he's not that comfortable in his own skin. Whereas Mick Jagger, here's the question. Is he the least self-conscious man that's ever walked planet Earth?
That's a great point. He's always been totally comfortable.
I mean,
with what he is.
From the minute they hit, he was just like, and there wasn't a... Who was he taking that from? There were frontmen, there were stars. There was Elvis, there was Little Richard, there was Chuck Berry, but there wasn't a frontman in a band with equal partners who was doing that job. He invented that role for rock and roll bands. And he was just Mick from day one. And, again, Keith, snorted my dad's ashes. The pirate character we've all known for the better part of 50 years. Well, that wasn't him 60 years ago, whereas Mick Jagger has just been this dude. Do you think Mick Jagger is ever concerned with... I hope my breath smells all right. I don't think he is. I think
bet his breath reeks.
I bet it does, and nobody cares, and he knows it. He's recognized for a long time. He's not walking around with an ounce at this stage of the game. I mean, my God, when's the last time he was had a truly self-conscious moment?
Right. I do remember, I remember reading in Rolling Stone magazine when they came to Minneapolis, the local promoter said, the Beatles, when they came here in the 1960s, good, clean-cut chaps, but the Rolling Stones reeked. They smelled bad. Their clothes were disheveled. And, so maybe they just don't give it. And Mick Jagger's got that kind of model-esque, androgynous beauty thing going on, He's just a good-looking guy, whereas Keith is an ugly mutt. Yeah. I think that's where that comes from.
Pretty much.
A little self-conscious. He's just ugly.
Is Mick a good-looking guy? I think he's a weird-looking guy.
He is a weird-looking guy, but it's exotic. It's unique.
Yeah, and I feel like if he wasn't so, not self-conscious, he wouldn't be that sexy.
Well, I mean, the logo, the band has a logo of giant lips. It's like making fun of the way he looks. He's always been a bit of a unicorn. And here he is at 80 years old, still. He's on Instagram. He's got 3-something million followers. Mick Jagger's never stumbled into the whole, he was a man of his time. He's 2024, and he's still he's like, no, this is my time. And for the record, and by the way, never bagging Keith, you look at the greatest bands who've ever existed, the bands with the greatest careers, the one thing they have in common isn't like talent, but it's called brains. Mick Jagger's a brilliant guy. And for the record, so's Keith. He doesn't want you to know that as much. He plays up the character of Keith Richards. But behind the scenes, they're both super smart people. Jimmy Page is a very, very smart person.
Right.
David Gilmour is a smart like these guys who have these extraordinarily lengthy careers, more often than not. Look, but the Beatles were very, very bright guys. They're just very bright. They're turned on at all times. And self-consciousness is not something you're gonna be able to carry very far. Now, for us, morning radio folk, we just walk. We're just a bunch of nerves. We're just out of our minds. I mean, I'm pretty self-conscious. I have a great. I play a good game of whatever. But in the back of my mind, what are you kidding? Well, I play drums because I'm like, well, I'd be comfortable in front of all those people if I'm sitting behind a bunch of stuff. If I'm moving my arms, what position can you truly get away with looking like you're, sitting on like an electric chair? Like my faces when I play drums, I look like I'm being tortured, and it's like, well, I can't do that up front. I can't even be the bass player and look like that. It would never work. I got to be back here. These are the things that go through our minds. Self-conscious men, we're way worse than you think, ladies. Just make no mistake about that.
Yeah, so leave us alone. Back off.
And then as soon as you do, that's when it really ramps up. Wait a minute,
right.
where are you going?
Yeah, right. We need the attention, right?
Oh, my God.
I want to be left alone, which means don't leave me alone. I don't know.
There was that old bit. Come here. Get away. Come here. Oh, you know what? Never mind. That was Bill Cosby. Sorry, my bad. that was one of his bits over my childhood. I was like, who was that? Was that Bob Newhart? Thinking about the old comedy albums in the house back in the day. Oh, no, it was Cosby. Never mind. Retract that.
It's not even cool to eat pudding anymore. He ruined that.
Oh, bastard.
That bastard.
Oh, miss Jello pudding pops, though. God, those were good.
All right. All right. Self-conscious men. All right, let's pick something we're self-conscious about. I'll have to think about it. I mean, listen, when you've got it all, the looks and the talent, but I'll make something up. I'm pretty good. My fingernails there. I'm self-conscious about my fingernails. So we'll pick something that we're self-conscious about. Let's bear it. Let's get it out. Exercise that demon, if you will. And we'll come back with that in about 10 minutes. Hang tight.
Connect with us on the KQ Talk and Text line. 651-989-ROCK. That's 651-989-ROCK. 92 KQRS.
I'm Steve Gorman. This is the KQ Morning Show for March the 20th. We've been discussing self-conscious men, especially, because, we're all just so cool. The cooler you are, the more you're hiding. That's something I pretty much have determined in my life. A long time ago, I used to look around and think, man, am I the only guy who's like freaking out over every little thing? And then I realized at some point, no, we all are. We just are somewhere better. Some of us are better at hiding it than others. I'm going back a few years. By now, I mean, come on, the horse is long out of the barn.
Yeah, I was just thinking about that. There's literally nothing I'm self-conscious about now. It's that beautiful time in your life where you just don't give a rat's ass anymore,
Sure.
I think when I was when I was younger, it was just sweating. When I was trying to, procreate with as many women as possible and just meet women all the time. I would sweat. I would take an extra shirt with me when I would go out at night because I didn't even have to be dancing or rocking or anything like that. A hot, humid night in Minnesota, I would sweat a lot. My kids get it. They've looked into like medical procedures to stop sweating so much. Sydney was in gymnastics, and they would make her go out after she would go out and do her routine. They would hand her a mop, and she would have to go out and mop the mat out there. This was just in practice, not in competitions. And she was self-conscious about first meeting a boy because what if he wants to hold her hands and they're very sweaty? I'm like, don't worry about boys. Boys will hold anything, we'll stick our, we're just, whatever. I was just thinking of those old spaghetti dishes we used to stick our hands into, and the girls would get, with the old haunted houses.
Yeah, sure.
And guys would just be like, give me some of that. I'm going in with both hands. But don't worry about guys. They'll hold your hand if they like it, sweaty or not. But sweating, I got past that. Now I don't do anything, so I don't sweat anymore.
So,
it's a very sedate life. No, now I just don't care,
Boy, but you know what? In all sincerity, I feel for you. I feel for the kids. I mean, the sweat is not, I'm thinking of those teen years, adolescence, puberty, all those things come on.
Yeah.
Everybody's walking around, both hands up to the mouth, smelling the breath at all times.
Breath,
The quick, you do the thing where you pretend you're stretching your arm, but you're really getting a pit sniff in before you go talk to somebody. We all have all the things we do.
Yeah.
The whole like, all right, no, I have an itch right near my nose, but then you want to make sure, just quick clean, quick, make sure you don't have to clean out the pipes too much. You don't want something to be dangling out of your nose when you go talk to somebody.
Yeah, and I appreciate that. That's like probably the most thing I appreciate about men is when they are, self-aware of those disgusting things that just happen naturally. To
But
them.
see, that would be great. It's not self-aware. It's self-conscious. It's doing all to avoid embarrassment. We're not concerned
but
about
that's like
you
totally
feeling
different
better.
from what Zepp was going through. Like he can't really control his excessive sweating. He's just learned to make fun of it and accept it. I think there's a difference between that and then, like noticing if you have a really long nose hair or like brushing your teeth in the morning.
Yeah.
Well, okay, fine. Sister Candace Wheeler. Let's look. The point
I
is,
just appreciate a self-aware man when it comes to hygiene.
no, I
Self-aware.
totally get that. But what I'm saying
Self-aware,
is,
there's a difference. Self-conscious is being a goofball about it.
Yeah.
what
A
I'm
little
talking
neurotic.
what I'm talking about is the nuclear reactor of weirdness that's fueling all that self-awareness. It's like in a perfect world, it would be like, oh no, I want to look good just because I feel. And it's like, I wish that was the case. No, when it starts off of, oh my God, I can't possibly be embarrassed today. What my point is, we're just little flowers. We're walking through the world, and the world expects us to have the answers and expects us to be cool and expects us to do all these things, and you don't know what it's like. The pressure is unbelievable. Man, I just got a text from a buddy who's listening to the show. He said, hey, man, I was listening to Quadrophenia yesterday. The whole thing, self-consciousness, wondering how you fit in. Those are the themes of the album. So, yeah, Pete Townsend knows where I'm coming from.
Yeah.
Maybe. I don't know. But, it's just one of those things you do get to a point where you suddenly realize. And I do think for a lot of guys, it is a sudden realization. It's not that you age gracefully out of caring, but one day you just wake up and go, what am I? I don't care. Like,
No.
You have to be like, it's like the old VA commercial. You have to get someone else to smack you in the head and go, you could have just relaxed a long time ago. It's like, oh, yeah, thanks for letting me know.
Yeah,
Or you
let
can't do
yourself
anything about it.
stink. Yeah, let your don't raid the girlfriend's makeup bag for the zit on the end of your nose. If anything, squeeze it, make it just burst like Rudolph's nose. That was my thing. I used to always get a zit right on the end of my nose. I give it a big nose, and I'd get that zit, and it would freak me out. And I'd be like, "Do you have any? Well, I have a little makeup." I'm like, "Well, then they're going to notice I have makeup on a zit." But I don't know. Now I don't care. Now I don't get zits anymore either. Maybe that's part of it. Maybe that's why I was sweating so much, because I actually cared for a moment. Don't care.
Stress is
Give
a
up.
factor.
Stress is a big factor. Some of the most self-conscious moments in human history are my old band's early photo shoots. Let me tell you something. Nobody was comfortable and felt cool. It was just the idea, and you don't even realize, especially in a group setting like that. Like if somebody comes up to you and goes, hey, let's do some headshots. You're like, okay, yeah, I got to get ready, or you got to think about it. Like even a school photo back in the day. Go back to middle school, high school. The school photo day was potentially a day of great stress. When it's like Rock Band and you're debating, well, are we just going to try to look cool? Are we going to try to look tough? Are we just laughing because we don't care? The Beatles smiled a lot. Why can't we? Not that these conversations are happening on the table. Right. Everyone's immediate self-conscious, subconscious takes over. And then you look at early photo shoots and it's just 5 guys who look like they're trying to hold back a deuce.
That's funny.
It's
Yeah,
just
you wonder how to portray yourself.
Yeah, because and in 1989, it was all Sunset. All the bands tried to look tough overnight, like tough. What are we going to get in a fight? We're going to when does being a musician mean you got to be tough?
Right.
Like you got to have a tough skin, you got to have a thick outer skin. But like, what are we really going to be like? Fight? Is this like Anchorman? Are we really going to be brawling with other bands? It's just ridiculous. Cool. And then somebody would come up and do a little makeup, and then they'd touch up, and it was a weird time in rock. It was right before grunge saved all the bands. Thank God for grunge, because it was like Just no. The worse you look, the better. Trust me, it's way more down to earth. You look at pick up a rock magazine from 1989 and then pick up one from 1992, and it's like different species.
Well, yeah. I mean, they were wearing makeup and eyeliner and everything in the 1980s. A lot of bands, the hair band thing was happening, and then it just came to a screeching halt.
Oh, hey, the fourth or fifth gig on our first tour, we were in Vegas, and for some reason, a lot of bands were wearing, like our singer would wear eyeliner, but it looked good, whatever. He's got to be, it draws attention, and he's looking for attention. And sort of as a joke, because I'm the last guy that would ever do that, I said, yeah, let me go for the gig. And everybody it was funny to the band. But then I didn't realize, but when I walk out of this room, people think that giant guy in the drum kit wears eyeliner. And they don't know it's a joke. And I really was. Like, I looked down the whole show. I couldn't. It was a club. There was 50 people there. Nobody cared. But I could not get past it. And there's a club called Calamity Jane's, and I was like, I just got to get out of here. And after the gig, I'm trying to wash my face in this nasty-ass bathroom that hadn't seen a Lysol wipe ever. And I'm like, I can't believe it. Why did I do this? And, of course, nobody else gave a flying fart at the moon about it.
Who's got some Noxema, for God's sakes?
Exactly.
God, is anyone else thinking of Chrissy Hynde with her mascara running right now? I'm all fired up for that. All right, well, we'll continue the conversation, but in minutes, we have Mike Evans' Hollywood Report. Hang tight.
Connect with us on the KQ Talk and Text line, 651-989-ROCK. That's 651-989-ROCK. 92 KQRS.
I'm Steve Gorman. This is the KQ Morning Show. It's March the 20th. Let's go to L.A. It's time for the Mike Evans Hollywood Report.
Hey, good morning, Steve and Candace, Zepp and Tony. How many folks out there went to a Marcus Theater yesterday for only $6? Every Tuesday, $6 special for any movie at Marcus. And I'll have some movie reviews, more reasons to go to Marcus on Friday for the weekend. A little love nugget for you. While Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce reportedly snuck off for a quiet weekend, is it true? Taylor and Travis are trying to plan a secret getaway for the summer. Look, I hear that they'd like to escape to a secluded Caribbean island or maybe a little populated Pacific island like Western Samoa. Comment. If they really want to get away and nobody find out, they can. I mean, I know for a fact over the years, Tom Hanks, Will Smith, Leonardo DiCaprio, Jennifer Lopez, Gaga, and other celebrities, they go on vacations, they sneak off, and nobody knows that they have gone on vacation. They keep it quiet on the down low. Oh, Alec Baldwin's lawyers are trying to pull all the stops, to try anything to somehow get his manslaughter case either dropped or reduced. Maybe some kind of plea bargain. Prediction. Well, the New Mexico authorities will hear all these begging of Alec's attorneys, but the New Mexico authorities are going to end up saying the same thing that former President George H.W. Bush once said. Not going to do it. Not going to do it. Again, when Alec Baldwin goes on trial this summer in New Mexico, I'll be there for you. Guarantee we'll be the only station from Minneapolis in the trial watching and letting you know what happens. So on October 8th, Al Pacino will release his tell-all memoirs. It's a book called Sonny Boy. Personally, I can't wait. Al Pacino, it should be amazing. His secrets, his loves, his hates, what happened behind the scenes on The Godfather, Serpico, Scent of a Woman. Hoo-yah! And what was Marlon Brando really like? 82-year Al Pacino tells all in his book coming out October 8th. Can't wait. Sports shorts, Steve. What do you think of this? ESPN has agreed to a multi-billion-dollar 6-year extension with the NCAA to carry 15% more college football games than last year. I think it's fabulous. And I know Steve is going to be laughing for the next 10 minutes when he hears this. Don't bet on it, folks, because I'm the worst. I'm the worst. Here's my Final Four prediction for March Madness. Connecticut, Houston, Baylor, Tennessee. Okay. Hey, have a great day. We'll do it again tomorrow. Mike Evans, see ya.
One thing to say on that Final Four pick. The day Tennessee makes the Final Four, I will eat a shoe live on the air.
Whose shoe? That's what matters.
That's not to be determined just yet. That ain't going to happen. If there's one thing in the water in Tennessee, it's the thing that keeps Tennessee basketball from ever living up to their potential. That's the easiest bet on the planet. Boy, I'm really jinxing myself with this, aren't I? Pretty confident. All right, Mike Evans just told us what's going on. How about a moment where we look at what happened back in the day? How about a history lesson?
Now it's time to learn.
On this day in 1954, Bobby Plum. The name Bobby Plum ring a bell? He sank a last-second shot that gave Milan High School a 32-30 victory over Muncie Central in the Indiana High School Basketball Championships. That was the most famous high school basketball game of all time, and that is, of course, the origin. That's the real story of the movie Hoosiers. That was on this day. That's a true story, 1954. The movie Hoosiers was something I had a passing association with. Well, sort of. An assistant coach at Western Kentucky, where I was a student, who I knew and who I played ball with, said, "Hey, man, do you act?" And I said, "Sure. Who doesn't act?" And he said, "There's a movie being shot. It's about an Indiana high school basketball team. They're auditioning guys in Louisville, and I put your name down if you want to go try out. Can you get to Louisville like a week from Saturday? They need white boys under 6'5" who can actually play." And I said, "Done." And he goes, "It's like a big movie, Hollywood movie." I said, "Great." And I figured, well, how hard can it be to get a ride to Louisville? It's only like an hour and a half away. Well, when you wait till Friday afternoon, pretty hard, as it turned out. Just went to the thing in the student center, the ride board, where you just got to go somewhere and someone's always giving you a ride. You buy a tank of gas. Of course, I didn't wait till Friday afternoon. I waited till like Friday evening. Oh, yeah, that thing's tomorrow. So long story short, I never made it. But to this day, I've always thought, like, I probably should have tried to get in that movie.
Hell yeah.
Turned out pretty good.
You could have been famous.
Could have been famous. I could have been. You know what I could have been? I could have been buddies with the gentleman's gentleman, Gene Hackman. Big mistake. Yeah, I learned a lesson. Got a movie tryout, line up the ride ahead of time. That's what happens.
It's the KQ Morning Show, 92 KQRS. Zep, Tony, Candace, and Steve Gorman are the KQ Morning Show, 92 KQRS.
I'm Steve Gorman. This is the KQ Morning Show. It's Wednesday, March the 20th. Good morning. 1 hour from now, actually a little under an hour from now, we're going to give away some Chris Stapleton tickets. We're going to play a game. We're going to put a couple of contestants / listeners through the ringer. That's always fun. Stay tuned. Join us. Be a part of it, won't you? In the meantime, we've been discussing already on the show the concept of just how self-conscious we can find ourselves. Imagine being Kate Middleton, marrying into the royal family in England. Here you are. You're going about your business. You meet a chap in college. He happens to be Prince William. You guys hit it off. He asks you to marry him. And now, all these years later, you've been photographed 8 billion times, and you just want to take a break. You just want to tap out, and the British media won't let you go. And then she shows up with a Mother's Day photo, and everyone's like, you doctored the photo. And now another photo that she says she took of Queen Elizabeth with all the grandchildren a couple years ago. Now people are looking back at that and saying, well, this one was clearly doctored too. And it's a big controversy. If you think the royal family doctoring photos is a problem, it's the royal family. They've been doctoring reality for centuries. It's this is what they do.
So weird.
It's the weirdest thing. I'll never get over it. I'll never understand it. I'll never
This
care.
one has an extra degree of strange to it, however. Because she is so front and center, and she's out every day. She's the point, really, for the royal family, not King George, not even Prince William himself.
Yeah.
She's the point. She's the country has fallen in love with her, much like they fell in love with Diana, who is also on point. But unlike Diana, I mean, she's disappeared.
Well, you
Poof,
know,
into thin air.
Give it. I
don't
totally
care,
get it,
but
but you know, at the same time, it's like I don't blame her a bit. But you know, but by the way, does anyone now? I mean, forget the Meghan thing, forget the Meghan and Harry thing, but just generally speaking, does anyone blame Harry for just getting the hell away from all that?
No.
My God, what a bizarre thing. Anyway,
no, but he's a twit.
Well, they can both be true. These are not mutually exclusive situations. We mentioned earlier in the show our dear friend and comrade Candace Wheeler, great physical specimen. She works out. She teaches spin classes. I mean, teaching a spin class. I did one spin class once, and I was 7 minutes in, and I said, this will never happen again.
All right, run that by me again one more time. I know you've described it to me, but it's like that kid thing we sat on you're right, with the little pole in the middle,
really
and you just spun yourself around until you fell off.
Extreme core exercise, that one.
Oh, the core. That's the most important exercise. I like the spin class then. What would be one exercise I might do in a spin class?
Oh, well, my classes are more about like the music. So I just grab the beat of every song and I'll do like push-ups on the bike and crazy moves. Like it's not just sitting on a bike and riding it.
You're
okay,
crazy.
That's right. Spinning. I forget. Spinning. It's cycling. They just didn't. Yeah. Someone else had patented that word, so
no. I think you're thinking of pole work. You're thinking of a pole workout.
Kind of.
This is a different thing. This is sitting on a bicycle pretending you're having fun. And sweating.
It is fun.
So the wheels are spinning. You're not spinning.
Correct.
That's correct. Yeah, you're on a stationary bike rocking out to Candace's tunes.
It's fun. I had to do this because I'm never going to run ever unless I'm being chased. So.
I want to see you run so bad. I wonder what would make Candace run. There's Ozzy. He's just getting on the plane. Hurry! He's just about to get in the limo. Hurry!
Candace, what's the longest distance you've ever run in your life?
A mile, because I was forced to.
Really? And it was a one-off? It just happened once?
Whenever school, whatever that was. I can't believe, I think they made us run the mile in like second grade. It was torturous.
So you've never done like a 5K fun run to raise money for, people with weird feet. Never did anything like that.
What about at an airport? You ever been late for a flight?
Yeah, but
you had
even
to break
that's
into
not
a
running.
sprint.
Like, I'm not going to full sprint.
She does the fast walk with the elbows going.
Power walk through the airport. Sure, we could see it. Okay, well, fair enough. But the spin class, I will say, it was one of the most difficult things I've ever tried to do. It was it was damn near impossible. And not my vibe at all. And so with that in mind, thank God, here comes science to the rescue for all of us. Okay, look, you know how there's Ozempic, right? It's taken over the world. I mean, it starts as a disease to or as a medication to treat diabetes, and then it turns out, it just can help anybody lose weight. And the side effects are for most people pretty negligible. For some people, there's a lot of nausea, but generally speaking, and they, by the way, this thing's been around almost 20 years publicly all over the place. Just in the last 4 or 5 years, you've heard about it, but they've been doing tests. It's fairly safe. I mean, I was getting a checkup with my GP a couple years ago, and it was being discussed in the office. I said, "What are they talking about?" He explained the whole thing to me, and I was like, "Well, that's fascinating. You got a pill or a shot, and you lose weight without crazy side effects. Go figure." Well, I thought that's pretty great. What a cool thing for people that need it. Now you've got my full interest, because doctors who are long subscribing exercise for all of us, well, you could exercise more. And I always want to go, and you could shut up and, why don't you just give me a pill,
Shut
dude?
up and bill me.
Give me a pill. How about that? Well, now check this out. Researchers are saying there are compounds. And there are compounds that appear capable of mimicking the physical boost of working out. Muscle atrophy, medical conditions in people like heart failure, neurodegenerative disease. There are a lot of people who cannot work out because they're fighting other things. They could take this pill and their body would respond muscularly, metabolically, as if they had worked out. It's literally a pill that replaces the actual workout. Your body gets the same benefits. This is not available now. It is in development. And right now, like everybody involved in it says, hang on, we cannot replace exercise. Which tells you that they're trying to replace exercise. And they're saying this is going to be for people who cannot otherwise work out. And that might be true. But the minute this thing gets approved, the drug companies are going to be like, can you imagine the ads? They're going to show a guy out running, and then they'll show someone sitting in their apartment window watching the runner with a cigarette, and it goes, you don't want to run, do you? Take this pill instead.
Laughing hysterically.
better living through chemicals. Viagra was a blood thinning thing for
That's right.
hearts, you know, right? Now it's just the boner pill.
It's pretty great stuff to me.
Yeah,
this is the kind of news that makes me think. I was onto something when I said for years I'll start smoking in my 50s. This is the green light. I'm going to go down to the pub. I'm going to have a cigarette and a pint and have this pill, and it'll all work out. Finally, an exercise regimen I can commit to long term, which is taking one pill with water every day.
Yeah, not sure it cures lung cancer, but hey, man, they've got the de-aging thing. We did that story last summer where they're working on an anti-aging pill that will prevent our cells from, it doesn't turn the clock back. It just slows the aging process greatly by our cells not deteriorating. And of course, they're trying to come up with it for people with serious diseases, but no, people are just going to stop the aging process. I'm sure once they get that through the FDA or whatever approved, it's going to be far too late for most of us. But, this one has some promise, Who doesn't want to be in shape? Bikini seasons, I can't fit into my one piece. And, so I'm thinking, I got to get out and get a little exercise in. Maybe just quit some late night snacking, put the Girl Scout cookies. I'm down to my last 2 boxes, which is making me panic a little bit. I went to the grocery store the other day. They've quit selling them. They're not showing up anymore.
Oh, my gosh. On St. Patrick's Day, the smartest mom ever brought her kid to a bar restaurant. Like there were you can bring your kids there. It's not like it was a bar. But she just went up, hello to every drunk person and just made so much money. And I bought a few boxes and I forgot them there.
Oh, you forgot.
I was distracted.
The crew, they found 45 boxes of Girl Scout cookies because you forgot and you're waking up hungover the next day, or you got the munchies when you got home. And where are the damn Girl Scout cookies?
I almost cried.
I guarantee
2 boxes of Girl Scout cookies and a pill. That's all you need.
If the Girl Scout in question was as smart as you think she was, she would have hung around knowing most of these will be left behind, scoop them up, sell them again. Double dipping on the sales.
I tipped her too. I tipped her $10.
Of course you did. You were drunk.
I bought a bunch of Girl Scout cookies this year. It was still over the holidays when they went on sale. And so I was in Nashville when I bought a bunch and I had not been able to enjoy them. It's our next door neighbor's kid. She's a little Girl Scout. I bought some cookies. And then I was back here first week of January. And but my kids enjoyed them, so they got that. But the other day I'm at Costco and I saw a bag of little. It looks like M&M sized, but it's like Thin Mints in a little dollop. A tiny little. Looks like an M&M, but it's a Thin Mint. It's a chocolate wrap mint thing. And I was like, man, I didn't get my Thin Mint fix for the year. I should probably buy this giant bag with 1 billion calories of sweet stuff in it. And so I did. And I'm like the kind of guy, I'll eat a couple cookies or 1 candy bar a year. I just don't have a sweet tooth. This is 2 nights ago. I ate probably 600 or 700 of those things. Just sat there and worked through the whole damn bag, watching the new Kate Winslet show, The Regime. Just like
what you're going to say in the car on the way home.
No. I waited till I got home. All right. And I was like, man, these are pretty good. Yeah, they're pretty good. Maybe I'll put them in the fridge and cool them off a little bit. That'll make sense.
Yeah.
That just really worst mistake I made because then I could not stop eating them.
Oh, my God. Something about a cold cookie. Thin Mints, of course, go in the freezer. I didn't invent that. That's just where they go.
Sure.
But, everything, those lemonade ones. I put those in the fridge. I know. But I burn off the calories. You know how? I just take 1. And then I go back to my couch. I eat it. And then I walk back for another one, and then I go back to the couch and I eat it. And at every little break in the show I'm watching, television, commercial or whatever, I go back and I get another one. I'm just burning calories.
Nice.
It's probably a push, I think.
Attaboy.
All right, we're going to push on here. Whether you love your job or you hate it, no one wants the big money screw-ups at work, right? You feel bad. I remember working at a radio station. Somebody just hated working there, They complained on the air about working there, but they spilled a pop into you never do that. You never bring your soda, your pop, whatever, into the control, and spilled it all over the control board. She was beside herself. Just hated it. But that pales in comparison to what one real estate agent did on the job. This is a crazy story. Got us thinking about the big money screw-ups we've made on the job. That's coming. Hang tight.
Connect with us on the KQ Talk and Text line. 651-989-ROCK. That's 651-989-ROCK. 92 KQRS.
I'm Steve Gorman. This is the KQ Morning Show. Here's something fun about me. I'll have a song like, I don't know, that Rush song we just heard that I've heard 1 million times, and I will completely lose my train of thought because I'm listening to it going, man, this is awesome.
Yeah.
We come back from the break, and I'm like, what were we doing? Are we on the air? Are we supposed to talk about something? Because I'm literally sitting here just thinking, God, man, Neil Peart, what an audacious man. Who would play the drums like that, and who would write those parts, and who would execute them night in and night out? And Geddy Lee's bass playing, oh, my God, I literally just get lost in that song.
Well, actually, this is the Rush segment. We had talked about doing a full breakdown of the band, starting with their first album.
That's right, okay.
And just moving through it. No, we were talking about expensive work mistakes. You're costing us a lot of advertising money right now, mister.
Man, no kidding.
That's not
My
true
bad.
at all. That's not true. No, this real estate agent, we talked a little bit about this off the air, and just making, I don't know if you guys have ever made a big money mistake. You know, I remember growing up on a farm. I did not like farming when I was growing up there as a kid. It's the last place I wanted to be. Now I like to occasionally visit and help out and then leave again and go, oh, yeah, that's right. This is hard work and little return. So I want to get the hell out of here. But when I was a kid, I really half-assed everything, and it drove my dad crazy, and he had me change the coolant. We all know what the coolant does, right? Keeps the engine nice and cool.
Sure.
And one of our 2 tractors on our little farm, and I drained the coolant. And then I don't know what I did. Went out and played on a haystack with Chris. Who knows? A little daydreaming. I always had my Walkman on, so I was probably listening to some Mellencamp and totally zoned out. Got in the tractor, went out to the field. I didn't watch the gauges and all that stuff that Dad specifically said, you've got to watch these gauges. And I didn't watch them. I mean, all of a sudden the tractor just stopped running and steam was rolling out and all sorts of things. It turns out I forgot to put the new coolant in the tractor and blew up an engine. The engine block had to be replaced. $800, which in today's money would be $8 million. $800 in the 1980s to a small farm was just... My dad was so angry, he teared up a little bit. Have you ever seen your dad tear up a little? That's the only time when he just realized, we're sunk. And then I realized I had really effed up. And I still feel bad about it today.
Sure.
Although
that's the kind of thing that
overcame, right?
It's a learning experience, and what you learned was, I'm going to go into radio and ski a lot.
Yeah, right, exactly. I'm not going to screw it. You know, what am I going to do, Hit the wrong button, play the wrong tune, talk about porn on the side of the road, not corn. These are mild screw-ups. Yeah, there's nothing I can really screw up too badly. Just sitting here talking into a microphone. But some people do. This real estate agent in Australia was doing an open house on a multi-million-dollar property, and they had some clothes hanging on the clothesline out back. Out back, see what I did there with the Australia real estate agent? Anyway, the clothes were hanging out there.
Night.
The sheets, and thought it looked a little tacky, brought them inside, threw them down on a table with a lamp, turns the lamp on for some reason, and then leaves to prepare for the open house. Long story short here, if I can, burns the house to the ground, right down to the studs. But it was being rented, by the way, at the time. No one hurt. That's why we can chuckle about it a little bit. But this real estate agent burned this house completely to the ground.
The problem she made, well, there's 2. First problem, you burned a house to the ground that you were trying to sell for your client. But secondly, after it happened, the client got a phone call. The owner of the house said in court, she called me and said, oh, my God, I think I have burnt down your house. I think it was the bedding that I put near that lamp.
Yeah. Why?
We've all learned one lesson, which is from traffic fender benders, which is don't say anything like that.
Nope.
Don't get out and apologize. Get out and say, "Are you okay? Mm-hmm. What do you think happened?" Keep it vague.
Tony, what have you done? Yeah, that kind of thing.
Tony, closest you've ever come to admitting a fault in a major fire? No, I don't know. You probably never burned anyone's house down.
I rode my bike into the wall of the school, and the glass shattered.
Really?
Yeah, Stingray, and I just took off.
Oh, yeah, you did.
Mm-hmm.
Life before CCTV. Man, what a free world we used to live in.
Like a wall of glass. gigantic.
We grew up at a time when you could do something like destroy a wall of glass, one quick swivel head around, and you knew, I'm out of here.
Right.
I'm good to go.
Yeah.
Well,
No one saw this.
Yeah, I burned down the barn with my brother. I mentioned this on the air too many times.
God, yeah.
And I can talk about it now because my brother outed me when he was reborn. Didn't get it right the first time, I guess. But yeah, anyway, I forgot about that. Burned down. And we lied about it and got away with it for 20 years, I think Dad might have been suspicious, but, he just didn't want to know the truth.
Man, I made mistakes in very low stakes work mistakes, like a pizza oven with 3 large pies in there, and I just couldn't get away from the turntable to check on them. And
you and your damn music.
Yeah, you're spinning records while working at a late night pizza joint. Sometimes you got to hear all of side 2 before and you 3 just black pizzas in the oven. Damn it, you got to make them all over again. But again, that cost the guy the guy who owns the joint just lost $1.80 in pizza supplies in 1988. It's okay. So no huge stakes mistakes, but I did remember, for about 3 years, let's see, I was like 8th, 9th, 10th grade. My dad ran a radio station. That was the gig, K100, and it was one of those. This is late 70s, early 80s, FM, small town, and it was fully automated. There was no live DJs ever. It was they've got these tapes, like reel-to-reel tapes from a company in Texas.
Yep. And
the format was 2 current singles, a recurrent, like from 6 months ago, oldie, commercial break. That was it. 4 songs, commercials. 247. All you had to do if you worked there was just replace the tapes when it was time to replace the tapes. That was it. Hit song, recurrent hit song, oldie. Boom. That's it. 4 songs, commercials. 4 songs, commercials. And the station was doing really well. And my dad hired one of my brothers. Jim was home from the summer from college, and he hired him to work at the station and just do these shifts. Well, he's sitting there doing the overnight, and he's bored to tears. And around midnight, he's getting a little hungry. And there's this little burger joint. It's the only place open all night in Hopkinsville, Kentucky. And it's on the same block. It's 50 yards away out the front door of the building.
Yeah.
Jim decides, I'm going to go get some burgers. I got 4 songs to walk up the street, get these cheeseburgers, and get back. And he has to walk out the front door of the building, and he doesn't have a key, so he just plants like a little brick in there to hold the door open.
Yeah.
Well, he comes back with his sack of burgers, and that brick somehow is whatever he put in that door didn't work, and the door is locked, and it's midnight, and he's like, "This is this is 1980. There's no." Yeah. And he knows at the end of those 4 songs, there's going to be some commercials, and then it's time to change the tapes. And basically, so the station had dead air for a while.
Yeah.
And that's a big, costly thing, apparently, or it used to be. Like, if your radio station just aired silence, that was a real problem. I don't know the ins and outs. I don't pay attention to what the FCC does too much. I just don't say the F word, and I'm usually okay. But it was a big deal. Like, my dad, because it turned into like 40 or 45 minutes before he got a hold of somebody, because he wouldn't call my dad. He's not calling the house and wake up. He finally got back into the building. But it was like, I remember then saying, like, this is $100,000 fine or something. And I'm like, 100 what? No. Whatever it was. Man, I never had anything close to that.
Well,
sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, back during the old smoking days, that was not uncommon at radio stations. I might have participated in one of those myself, but thank God we have more than one radio station in the building. I was able to sneak back in. Some people are chiming in online. Here's a person in payroll who forgot to stop paying an employee. Cost the company $60,000. Whoopsie. 651-989-ROCK. That is the talk and text line. Someone with an expensive work mistake, Candace?
Yes, James from White Bear Lake.
James, good morning.
Good morning. How are you?
We're great, man. We're going to be better when you explain to us just how you screwed up, because now that it's all in the past, we can laugh about it, right?
Right. It was probably 18 years ago at this point.
Oh, great.
I was a new employee at a major hospital in St. Paul. I'm not going to say the name of it, but it starts with an R.
Okay.
I was a new employee in the anesthesia department, And after a procedure, I was in charge of cleaning the scope that they used.
Okay.
And I took the scope, put it in the sterilizing machine, and forgot to put the cap back on the battery compartment, and ruined a $45,000 endoscope.
Hey,
Whoopsie.
now.
Everything in a hospital's expensive. I would be terrified to work there.
Yeah, it was, but I fessed right up to it. I didn't get fired.
Okay. They didn't take it out of your pay or anything like that?
No, I'd probably still be paying for it.
He fell on the sword. We fell on the endoscope.
Yeah.
Well, we're
was-
sorry this had to happen, James, but there's a great way
It
to
was
learn this
ugly.
lesson. We're going to need you to turn around and drop your trowel.
Absolutely.
Man. Well, thanks for sharing that one, brother. I'm glad that's in the rear view.
Yeah, for sure.
All right, cheers. Thanks for the call. 651-989-ROCK if you want to share an expensive work mistake. I guess, there was one with my band made a ton of mistakes looking back that were just real basic.
Yeah.
In the name of artistic integrity or whatever. But we were making our 5th album, and we ended up on Columbia Records, which was not where we wanted to be. It was a contractual thing with the guy, Rick Rubin, who owned our label. I mean, it was one of those, wait, what do you mean we're on Columbia? Like, we didn't know anyone there. It's a giant label. That's like Mariah Carey's label. What are we doing here? But you got to make the most of it. You got to try to work with them because they own us at this point. And it was a pretty rough situation. We're making the album. We're in the studio making our 5th album. And a guy from the label comes down. He goes, "Hey, we're putting together a soundtrack album for an upcoming movie, and we want to put one of your new songs in it." And we'd never done anything like that. We're like, "Oh, sellout move. We don't want to be a part of it." It's we're like the kind of guys who are like, "Well, I mean, is it a John Sayles film?" Just so pretentious and full of ourselves. And they're like, "No, it's a movie called Armageddon. It's going to be huge." And we're like, "Yeah, right, whatever." And then. So they had already gotten like a working version of one of our songs, and they came in and they showed us a clip from the movie, and it's in a bar. And I've never even seen Armageddon. I know it's a huge movie, but I never could sit through it because we watched a scene. Steve Buscemi and maybe Bruce Willis are in a bar and they're having a drink, and one of our songs called Horsehead is playing. And I remember looking at it going, "That's actually kind of cool to hear your song in a movie. Like, that's kind of cool." But we're like, but this looks like. Then they tell us the idea behind the movie, and they're going to blow up an asteroid or something, and we're like, "Oh, come on! If we're going to do this, it shouldn't be in a movie that this is probably not going to do well." We talk ourselves out of it because we can't admit that we want to succeed. After whatever, just crazy band nuts. Anyway, long story short. When it comes down to it, we say no thanks. We will not let them put this song on the soundtrack that sold like 15 million copies.
Yeah.
Just that alone would have been the biggest thing we'd ever been a part. Like, oh yeah, oops, sorry.
Yeah, well, I mean.
Oh wait, that movie was huge, huh? And that's the one Aerosmith had the giant song on that one.
Yeah,
and they were also that label mates. They're like, Aerosmith gave us a song, and we're like, yeah, but they didn't write it. Like, we're just so stupid. I can't imagine how. I mean, so it didn't cost us. It didn't take money out of our pockets, but it sure kept a lot of money from entering our pockets.
Yeah.
Oops.
Well, you live and you learn. Aerosmith had a few more years under their belt. They knew what they were doing at that time. Another one, a big money screw up at work, by the way, 651-989-ROCK. We'd love to hear from you if you want to confess. I never thought about this. Someone at a grocery store mislabeled prime rib, and it cost the grocery store $200,000.
What? That's a lot of prime rib to mislabel.
Right. There was a run on prime rib, I guess. Maybe it was around the 4th of July or something. I don't know.
Wow.
But yeah, $200,000 on that one. Someone tripped a breaker at a refinery. That cost $2.4 million. And then they haven't put a price tag on this one. Ran a nuclear sub aground. Whoopsie.
Holy smokes. I saw a comment somebody wrote on an article, and they said, I met Larry Page at a party hosted by a Stanford friend of mine in the late 90s. he gave me a card for something called e-groups, and he said, we're hiring. One of the guys did. The other guy, he met these two guys. Larry Page gave me his business card. It was a flimsy bit of paper, obviously printed by Bubble Jet. And he said, hey, man, we're hiring. And I said to him, nah, who needs another search engine? And I went off to graduate school. The cards did say on it, Google.
Oh.
Yeah. Oops. That was yeah. He said, I still have the card. Yeah.
Yeah.
That does remind me of not a work mistake, but a life mistake, because I did sit in a bar in 1992 and a guy explained the future to me, and no small detail was left out. Email, internet, the whole thing. And he said, and he left with these words: just if you have any extra money, there's a company called AOL, America Online. Just invest in them right now, I promise. And I'm like, okay, are you picking up the tab? Because this has been an interesting conversation, but I'm going to get back here on planet Earth and reality. It's 1992, and I'm not going to have a computer in my home. Thank you very much. Oops.
Oops.
Hey.
You know, I've got a buddy still duking it out in radio sales, just making a fine living. However, has to work, and he's gonna work right there till the end, till the finish line, till he can get there. But about 20 years ago or so, a friend of his from North Dakota called up and said, hey, man, I'm getting into this new company. What we're doing is we're developing a scanner that grocery stores will use to allow you to scan your own items and do your own checkout. He thought, well, that's stupid. We already have cashiers doing it for us. It's not going to catch on. It's replacing a job that we don't need done for us. Someone's already doing it. Why would I want to scan it myself? I'm going to, at the time the guy wanted I have $5,000 to invest in this and get it off the ground. He said, I'm going to go ahead and take a pass. Like I said, still duking it out in sales. His buddy has about 5 houses now.
Yes, he does. Wow. Yeah, no, this is a tough rabbit hole to open up, because the more we talk about it, the more every one of us is going, oh, wait, then there was that one time. 651-989 Rock, the KQ Talk and Text Line. Candace, do we have another caller?
Yes, but he would like to be anonymous.
Anonymous, good morning, sir.
Good morning. How are you?
We're great, thank you very much. I'm going to go ahead and call you, for lack of a better word, Flipper. So what's your story, Flipper?
Well, I used to be a security guard at a local amusement park. And back in 1981, I was up around the shops at the front gate, and somebody decided it was a good idea to clean the lights in the building at the time. And one of the tiles swung down and scared a lady. The lady jumped back into a display, fell down, and broke her hip.
Okay.
Ooh.
So I called for backup, and another guy came up to help me out. And the other guy was a paramedic on the side, and so I asked him, should we use a board or a wheelchair to bring her back to the first aid building, which was in the other side of the park? And he said, let's just do the wheelchair. So we threw in a wheelchair. This lady is obviously in a lot of pain. So my goal is to get her back to the first aid tent or building as fast as I could. So we're cruising through the parkway, and the sidewalks of the walkway was not real smooth. So every step along the way was, ow, ow, ow. But I'm pushing her faster and faster. Okay, don't worry, we'll get you there. Boom, 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 boom. She's bouncing up and down in this wheelchair, and we got her back there. We didn't know she had a broken hip at the time. And later we found out she did. And I had an investigator come over to my condo at the time and asked me a lot of questions. And he asked, why didn't you use the board instead of the wheelchair? And I said, well, I referred to the other guy. He said, well, you're a lieutenant. He's a sergeant. Why did you listen to the sergeant? I said, because he's an EMT. I'm not. He knows the medical part.
Yeah.
And he goes, okay, that's all I need. And I don't know how much that cost the amusement park, but I know they lost that and cost them a little bit of money.
Yeah, that's rough.
Yeah. Well, I mean, your heart was in the right place. I mean, you were going for speed. Yeah, right.
The moment, hey, you know what? Under certain tense situations, we do the best we can. Flipper, thank you for the call, brother. We appreciate it.
That's how he always signs off.
Sure, always.
I was thinking he's going to dump her in the wheelchair. He's going to hit a little pothole there. And then he would have flipped her. I thought, oh my God, I think Steve called it. Brilliant. All right.
Would have been good.
It's the KQ Morning Show, 92 KQRS. Zep, Tony, Candace, and Steve Gorman are the KQ Morning Show. 92 KQRS.
We've been discussing work mistakes we've made, expensive mistakes made on the job. It just occurred to me listening to Eddie Money, 2 Tickets to Paradise. There was I can't say this is it was a poorly handled, it wasn't a mistake until it became a mistake. What am I trying to say? Here's what I'm going to say. And I don't have time to go into the whole story. But in 1989, I drew a doodle on a cocktail napkin that led to a 5-year legal exercise with a 2-week jury trial that led to rewriting potentially Georgia contract law.
Amazing.
It was me trying to be kind of sarcastic and snarky. The guy that I wrote this doodle and handed it to took it as a sign of everlasting bond and friendship and partnership, literally like legal partnership with my band, which was never the intent. It was it's the kind of story that was so bizarre that if I explained the entire thing, A, it would take an hour, and B, you nobody would believe me. It's one of those things you're like, this couldn't have possibly happened, and it truly did. I wrote a book about a big chunk of my life being in a rock and roll combo, and there's an entire chapter about this entire escapade that I didn't even leave in the final product, and because it was just like its own isolated thing. It's like a book unto itself. It didn't fit with a lot of the rest of the book because it was just this bizarre left turn, crazy ass story. But all told, in legal fees and after all this, literally this thing turned into just many 6 figures of lawyer fees. And then we still ended up with a hung jury. We didn't even win the trial. No one won. It was a hung jury over a napkin doodle with a Sharpie. Just completely insane. Yeah, looking back when people if you go back and change one thing, I'm like, yeah, that's if that's not on the top of the list, it's pretty close. Gosh. Yeah, kind of nuts, man. But that, like I said, these are one of those things you start talking about something, and then the more you talk, you look back and go, oh, wait, well, there was that one time. Oh, yeah, I guess I did this. Oh, that happened. Yeah, right. Oops. God. And all your farm stories up. I told the story of a guy I worked with once who they had hired a stud bull to come out and impregnate all of their cows.
Yes, I love this story.
And my boy Steve Bird accidentally on a lawnmower separated that stud bull from his own scrotum, which is, again, another story we don't have time for and probably don't have the stomach for right now. But, hey, you know what? Things happen sometimes. I had a night, my first ever, the first gig I played with a band called Mr. Grows Garden that later became the Black Crows was in Jacksonville Beach, Florida in 1987. From Atlanta to Jacksonville Beach, I don't know, 6 or 7 hours, I guess. After the show, on the drive back, it was me and our singer Chris and our friend David, who was our friend / manager of the band, David Macias, the guy that's literally responsible for us getting a record deal because he sent the cassette to a label. Just one thing led to another. But he had an old Gremlin. AMC Gremlin.
The best.
And it had as much trash in it as Tennessee Trasher's car. You'd get in the Gremlin and you're like, David, do you never throw anything? He goes, well, but once a month I go by, I find a dumpster and I put everything in there. But I just, he's constantly eating fast food. He's got like wrappers from records. I mean, his life was spent in this car. And so we're driving up I-75, me and Chris drinking beer, having fun, David, the responsible, sober driver. And I started singing about Tennessee Trash. I started telling them about these old PSAs for Tennessee Trash. And so Chris and I start immediately littering. We're like, oh, this. And David was like, it was like we were killing puppies. He was so upset. He's like, no, don't do that. And I'm like, wow, come on, man, Tennessee Trash. And just because he was so wound up, we just kept throwing things out the windows of his car. And we're just, 2 a.m., rural southern Georgia on I-75, and he pulls the car over. He's like, I will not drive 1 more mile if you keep littering. He was out of his mind. And we're laughing harder and harder, and we're just getting drunker and drunker. And it all came to a head, and we said, okay, we're fine. But at some point, we start driving a little farther, and his muffler, separates.
Oh, no.
And so suddenly we're driving what sounds like a Sherman tank. and we're laughing so hard, but he can't believe it. And he's like, we got to fix it. We pull over a second time. And my man, with items in his car, which included his own Fruit of the Looms underwear, a long piece of like kite string, and a Michael Jordan beach towel, rigged up a system reconnecting his muffler.
You MacGyvered it up.
He MacGyvered it up, and it worked great for a couple miles. And then all of a sudden it's like, hey, do you guys smell something? There's something on fire. And we pull over, and the car is on fire. And he's like, no! And he has to kick it out, and he's like, that's my Michael Jordan beach towel. And it was burning up. First ever road trip with the band, I was like, I have made the right decision in life, because I could have either been sitting in a classroom pretending to learn about broadcasting, which was my major, or I could have been burning a Michael Jordan beach towel on the side of the road drunk as hell. I was like, yeah, this is way better.
I got a feeling this is the kind of friend that you're doing a little littering. If you guys have gotten pulled over by cops for some reason, that he would just blurt it out. If it's about all the littering, about all the trash we threw out, we're terribly sorry. We'll go back. You know those people that
100%
just can't stay cool under fire. I had an experience like that in high school. There were the four of us in a car. I'm not going to get into it right now because we have a great story about a traffic stop down south there where the cops pulled the guy over, and this guy just blurts out a heinous crime. I don't know if he just could not handle the pressure of standing tall before the man, as we used to call it in the service. That story is coming up here about 15 minutes. Hang tight.
Connect with us on the KQ Talk and Text line. 651-989-ROCK. That's 651-989-ROCK. 92 KQRS.
I'm Steve Gorman. This is the KQ Morning Show. That was Guns N' Roses. Welcome to the jungle. I just saw a post while during the commercial break. I'm looking at Instagram, as I do on occasion, and I follow the guitarist from Guns N' Roses. That would be Slash. And he has a new solo album out, and Brian Johnson from AC/DC sings one of the tunes, a cover version of the old blues classic Killing Floor, which is also the Lemon song, the way Led Zeppelin did it. But so there's just a video Slash posted of footage of Brian Johnson and they're singing, and I'm looking at it and I'm like, oh, that's so cool. Slash and Brian Johnson hanging out, singing, made me happy. And then I go to the next one and write down if you look at my Instagram feed, you have stuff like that. You got like, okay, here's Slash and Brian Johnson. And then the next thing is any number of drummers who give like lessons, just quick, 60-second drum lessons. I'm a self-taught drummer, so I still see stuff all the time. I'm like, oh, that's how you do that. Cool. I've been doing it wrong, or I've been doing it a little more complicated, or it's easier than I thought. It's harder than I thought. Whatever. I pick on, these are completely anonymous people, but I still pick up tips. The next thing you'll see in my Instagram feed is guys that go around to houses with overgrown front yards and knock on the door and go, hey, can I cut your grass for free? Happy to do it. And then I just watch people clean up yards. It's so soothing. It's so nice. There's several guys. There's an Australian guy. There's an American guy, and they just show up in a neighborhood and they see the grass is knee high, and they go and they ask a neighbor, do you know who lives next door? And the neighbor's like, no, they moved out a year ago. No one's cut the grass. And then the guy just cuts the grass, and it looks amazing. And it makes me feel good. I follow companies that like trim hedges. And like by the end of it, I just feel like I got a neck rub. It's so nice to see these overgrown hedges get into shape. And then I follow. Then there's a series of dash cam things where it's just car crashes from dash cameras.
Oh, yeah, I watch tons of those.
Those suck me in like there's no tomorrow. And occasionally on those will then lead me down the ultimate rabbit hole, which is the police dash cams, the cops pulling people over, and the conversations they're having with obviously drunk drivers or stoned drivers or just bad drivers. And some of those are so funny because you just can't believe the stuff that comes out of people's mouths. And I'm just sitting here. And, I mean, there are times when literally Rosemary's like, what are you doing? And I don't even realize it. I'm just sitting at home laughing at one reel after another. She's like, put that damn phone down. But I get, I get sucked in. I would love to see the video of this traffic stop, which I don't have in front of me, but we do have the story. This was in Mississippi, a town called Natchez, Mississippi, where officers pulled over a car. It was a small pickup truck. The guy was driving, I guess, a little erratically. They pulled him over, and then they saw some drug paraphernalia in the truck. The driver's detained at the scene. And I guess the driver was going, he's a little stressed. He realizes he's got for one thing, probably a traffic violation. And two, he's got drug paraphernalia. The cops are aware of it. And he's scrambling, and he's probably high as hell. And he's a little nervous, and he's not quite sure what he should say. So he says this. We've got the police officer explaining the situation.
The officer who was backing up went up to the driver door, made contact with the driver, and noticed paraphernalia inside his vehicle. The suspect at that time stated to him that he had information about a corpse in the nearby area.
What? Hello? Huh? Wait, is that a pipe you've got there on your seat? I know where the corpse is. I know where the body is.
It's
what?
The greatest transition in a conversation history. Hey, sir, if you're wondering why we pulled you over, before I get into that, is that a marijuana pipe on your seat? I know where the body is. I mean, right to it.
I think it was a negotiation. All right, I'll tell you what. If you don't see a pipe, I'll tell you where you can see a corpse. Wow. But doesn't seem like in the story that he may or may not have had anything to do with it, but there are going to be a lot of questions. He's going in.
The officers did immediately call for backup, as you do.
Yeah.
The head Jerry Ford is the police commander, we heard. He said they came out, actually went off in the woods only about 10 feet away and discovered, there's a corpse. Well, the guy actually said, we found a dead corpse as opposed to a living corpse. But Commander Ford said the body had obviously been there for quite some time. All that was left was a skeleton, but that the head was missing from the rest of the body.
This is one of those corpses probably been out there, and everyone in town knows about it, but the cops.
Yeah.
Everybody goes out and takes a look. At some point, somebody wants a souvenir. They take the skull home. That'll be cool, man. I'm gonna put that up on my mantle.
Yeah.
Right next to my favorite ashtray or something like that. But so they just found the skeleton. What do you think? Did he think like like sometimes happens in television, almost never happens in real life, that the cop would go, "What? A corpse, a body? All right, you can go," and they were just going to let him go and. Go for the bigger catch there.
Well, like you said, it's not like they're working a case where they grab the street dealer and say, okay, who's your supplier? We'll let you go. They're not building up. It's not, you want to get away from the speeding ticket? Tell us where the body is. I mean, it was just a completely random. The guy was struggling to figure something else out. The cops, like you said, they're like, we don't know if this guy has anything to do with this caper. But no, there's a movie, Stand By Me. Hey, you guys want to see a dead body?
Yeah.
Like that word gets around. And people know where dead bodies are, as you said, except for the cops. I love the I might have to try that one if I get pulled over. Mr. Gorman, you know why I pulled you over? Well, I think I was speeding, but also, officer, I do know where a dead body is.
If I may add.
Just to see what the reaction would be. And they go, no, you caught me. I'm kidding. I don't know where a dead body is.
That would be a cool move. So few people, I think, are really cool when you stand in front of a cop. When a cop comes up and pulls you over. Or I remember being in the service, and everybody was really cool. And then the drill sergeant would walk into the room, and suddenly everybody would just start, giving up their buddies or whatever. So-and-so has candy bars in his locker. What? Did you just... I remember driving. There were 4 of us in a vehicle. Boo Boo was the driver. Chad Baraboo, our buddy. Just called him Boo Boo, of course. Yeah. And a cop pulled. We have some beer in the car. We're in the back. So we're all having a few roadies. It's middle of South Dakota. It's a long time ago, and it's not something you should be doing. With that out of the way, Highway Patrol, the old hypo, comes up behind us. So what do? We start stashing the beer cans and throwing a coat over this, and the case goes down on the floor. He comes up, and he goes, "Hi, how you doing?" And Boo Boo goes, "We're not high, but we have had a few beers. It's those guys mostly in the backseat are just drinking. I've only had one." And we're like, "Shut up!"
Yeah.
He thought he said, "How high are you?" And we were also stoned, by the way, too. So he just gave us up right away. He said, "I'm sorry, what?" He goes, "The beer in the backseat." He goes, "Why don't y'all just step right on out of the vehicle?" We're like, "Thank you, Boo Boo. It was speeding, you idiot. Now it's open container and everything else."
The first time I ever was driving around in a car drinking beers with 2 buddies, senior year of high school, the first time I was actually doing that, we got pulled over. by the sheriff of Christian County, Kentucky. We're in a car. We're in my friend's car, and we had little ponies, the little 7-ounce Millers.
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm.
We had and they come in 8-packs, not 6 or 12, 8-pack of ponies. And we had all bought these with someone's older brother's ID. And it's 3 of us. I'm in the back seat, 2 guys driving, and we're just sipping our little 7-ounce beers and feeling cool. And a car comes racing up behind us, and then it looked like he was going to rear end us, like with the lights on. And then it slowed down. And we're all like, we're aware of the headlights. And my buddy driving, Brooke, is like, oh, God almost ran into us. And I'm in the back seat, so I'm just like, yeah, man, back off. So I flip a bird. Just like you do. Sure. And then, whew, then the blues hit, the blue lights. And I'm like, oh, my God, I just flipped off a cop. And we get out, and it's the sheriff of our county, who was a very famous man at the time. He was about 6 feet, 7 inches tall. He was the first black sheriff in Kentucky state history. And he knew he was just his size alone was terrifying. And he leaned into the car, and we're all like, oh, my God, this guy's we're all going in, and they're going to find our bodies in Little River next year. He says, you boys aren't drinking, are you? And Brooke's like, yes, sir, we are. Because what are you going to do? There's empty bottles in the car.
Right.
And he looks at Brooke. He goes, well, who's your daddy? And he said, Brooke, he goes, insurance agent? And he goes, yes, sir. And he goes, huh. I know who he is. And he looks at Todd. He goes, who's your daddy? And he says, Richard Chouse. And he goes, truck driver? He goes, yeah. He goes, I know who he is. And this is after my dad had cut town, but he'd been in town for a while. And he said, who's your dad? And I said, Don Gorman. He goes, what's he do? And I said, I don't know. He's gone. And he goes, huh. He goes, well, I ain't going to call him then. And he looks at the 2 other guys. He goes, you want me to call your dad? He's at work tomorrow? And they're both like, no. And he goes, all right, well, then drive home right now. He just let us go. There were just open beer bottles in the car. And he just said, just drive home right now.
Yeah.
It was like, man, that is 1983 or 1,000 years ago, culturally speaking.
We get that, too, and the copper would know us all by our first names.
Man, crazy. And by the way, that sheriff went to prison. Federal heroin trafficking charges.
Whoa.
Because 41 is a highway that goes from Miami to Milwaukee, and it goes right through my hometown. And there was a whole lot of people running a whole lot of drugs on Highway 41. Wow. A lot of rambling men going on Highway 41, like the Elmer Brothers song says, and he was letting them go. He was on the payroll.
Well, see, I mean, he thought to you guys, well, here's some young kids. They're drinking the beer now. That's a gateway. Before you know it, they'll be on the heroin.
That's exactly right.
We can't just so they could be potential customers. We're going to go ahead and cut them loose.
First tour I ever did with the Black Crowes, my buddy Kenny, we're still very good friends. Great guy. He was our tour manager. We needed one at the last minute. He was like 25, 24, first job out of college. He's like in sales, like plastic sales for restaurants or something. I don't even know. He just had some real stiff job. And I said, man, we need a tour manager. And he's the last guy in the world I would have ever thought. He goes, I'll do it. I hate my job. What do I have to do? And I'm like, drive the van and collect $250 every night. We had our first tour opening in clubs nationwide, $250 a night, flat fee. That's what it was. And so he's like, I'll do it. And I'm like, I told the band, I'm like, hey, Kenny will do it. And we're like, great. There's someone who wants to go on tour for literally no money. But it was an adventure. I mean, why wouldn't you do it? So we were having a good time. But we found out a couple things about him. One is not a great driver. Not really a great driver at all. Smashed up our van in Washington, D.C. We had to get a rental van to finish the tour. But before he crashed, we had 2 incidents with police officers, one in our own van and one in the rental van. The first one was we were driving we had already gone into Toronto. We had one show in Canada, first time ever crossing a border up into Canada with the band. And when you tour, when we're on this tour, we have one show, a one-off in Canada. When we got to the border, there was a few things we had going on. Our merchandise guy, our T-shirt guy said, look, I'm not going to come to Canada. It's too much paperwork. It's a pain in the ass to bring in merch for a tiny tour. So he gave everyone in the band 5 shirts. He said, put these in your luggage. And then we were opening for a band called Junkyard. He goes, they'll sell our shirts. Just, you guys aren't going to sell more than 25 shirts. Just take these. I don't have to bring the truck. I don't have to bring all the T-shirts. It's way easier. And we're like, cool. So at the border going into Canada, they decided to search our van. And Kenny right away tenses up. He's like nervous. And I'm like, Kenny, just let me do the talking. Because I'm looking at these border guys, and they're like, they're kids. They're in their 20s. They look just like us, except they have short hair. Yeah. And I'm like, Kenny, they don't care. They're just doing their job. And so so I take the border guy over to the van, and he goes, okay, let's open up these we don't even have suitcases. Everyone has like duffel bags. He goes, let's see what you got in here. I'm like, it's just everyone's clothes. Like we're on tour. We say, rock band, Black Crowes, whole thing. And I unzip mine, and at the very top of my bag are 5 clearly never before worn or washed Black Crowes t-shirts. And he goes, huh. And then he opens the bag next to mine, 5 never washed, never worn. He goes, you guys aren't taking these shirts up to Canada to sell them, are you? And I go, and Kenny, I hear Kenny go, and I go, and I said, no, we wear these. We don't have time. When are we doing laundry? We just wear. We only have a few shirts. We just all have our own stuff to wear. Okay. And the guy looks right at me and goes, "Oh, okay." And I hear Kenny go, and I look at Kenny and I'm like, "Shut your mouth, dude. It's fine." And then I went as far as to say, "Do you want one?" And the guy looked, he goes, what? I go, well, we got tons of them. I mean, you said you've heard of the band. And the guy goes, well, I'm not supposed to. I can't take a shirt from you. I said, it's just if you're a fan. And, I mean, by the time it was over, the guy was like, hey, go with God. I'll be good. We get in the van. I'm like, Kenny, just chill, man. He's like, I've just never been in any trouble with the law. I don't know, it's a border first. And I'm like, okay, I got it, dude. Let it go. So a day later, right? So we get to Toronto, police show, fine. A day later, we're back and we're crossing the Peace Bridge into Buffalo. And I'm driving the van because I said, Kenny, let me handle. I recognized I should probably be the guy handing over passports and explaining what we're doing. And so, again, when you're on a tour, you have a carnet and you have to explain where your gear is. And our gear's on the other band's truck, and it can be confusing. So we pull up to the U.S. checkpoint after the Peace Bridge. Guy puts the window down. He goes, where are you headed? I said, we're on our way into Buffalo. And he looks in the van, sees this, and he goes, what are you guys, a band or something? I said, yeah, we're playing at the so-and-so tonight. We're opening for Junkyard. And he goes, what's the band called? Black Crowes? He goes, yeah, I think I've heard of you. I said, yeah, we're on MTV now. It's just starting off, And he goes, so what, did you have a gig in Canada last night? And I said, no. I said, no, we went up the QEW like 10 miles, that go-kart track. Right there, because we had stopped at this amazing go-kart track.
You're a quick thinker.
And I go, the guy at the club in Buffalo said those are the best go-karts, and they were awesome. And the guy looks at me and goes, oh, yeah, they're the best. Canadian go-karts are so much faster. He goes, we go up there all the time. I go, man, it was unreal. And he goes, oh, so you're playing tonight in Buffalo? I said, yeah, we're out with this band Junkyard. And I go, man, I'll put you on the list if you want. Guy goes, no, that's cool. But, yeah, all right, cool. Well, hey, have a great day. Mm-hmm. It's over.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't rolled up the window yet, and Kenny in the passenger seat goes, we did have a show in Canada last night?
Oh, he did not.
Kenny! Yeah, he did. He full on did. And the guy looks and goes, what? And Kenny goes, I can't lie. We played in Canada last night.
He doesn't even want to hear that. I mean, the officer doesn't even want to hear that.
He didn't. He literally, the officer looked at me, not like, I can't believe you lied to me, but like, why haven't you put a bib in this guy's mouth? Yeah. Why haven't you? And I looked at him, I go, yeah, man, I was just kidding about the go-karts. We played in Toronto last night. He goes, yeah, okay, pull over. And all of a sudden, they're searching the van. The guy's yelling at me about it. And we were out of our minds, and he's so apologetic. It never happened again. So sorry. 3 weeks later, after our first ever show in Minneapolis, we play First Avenue, open for Junkyard, and then we have a late midnight bowling party. I think it was at Elsie's, if memory serves.
Great.
Amazing night in town with our merchandise company, based in Minneapolis at the time. Nice man. We have a great night. The next gig is in Denver. That's a hike from Minneapolis.
Yep. Oh, yeah.
We're in the van. We're driving. We stay overnight. We have a couple days off. The next day we leave. By the time we're midway through Nebraska, it's already dark again. And we're driving, and everybody, not the drivers, but everybody in the back of the van, everyone's drinking beer, blah, blah, blah. We're like, hey, we got to take a leak, pull over. We're nowhere near a truck stop. Our T-shirt guy's driving the van. He just pulls over on the side of the road in the middle of literally nowhere. And we all pile out of the van, and we all take a leak, and we all get relieved, and then it's my turn to start driving. I hop in the driver's seat, and before we can pull away, a state trooper has pulled up behind us, hits the blues, I'm like, holy crap, where'd that guy come from? And he walks up to the front of the van. He's like, how's it going? I said, good. Show him my license. What are you guys doing? I said, we're a band. We're on our way to Denver. Got a gig, And he's got the flashlight and everybody. And this state trooper goes, now, you boys weren't just urinated on the side of my beautiful highway, were you? And I said, no, of course not. We were just we were stretching a driver's shift. I'm just now starting my shift. He was driving before. Everybody got out and had a nice stretch. We would never defile your beautiful highway. And he laughs. He goes, okay, just making sure. And literally from the passenger seat, I did, sir. I urinated on the side of the van. He did it again.
No shotgun privileges for Kenny.
Oh, no.
Kenny's in the back.
And the same thing. The cop looks at me like, "Are you serious with this guy?" And everybody goes, "Kenny!" Like just yells, and he's just so mad at himself. But it was literally like he could not come clean, which is a wonderful thing. He's the most honest guy in the world. I mean, we're still good friends. I trust him with my life, but I would never trust him in a traffic stop again.
What a character. Oh my God.
Jeff Hamilton in 8th grade. We stole the teacher's the teacher's book, the textbook, the one with all the answers in it before a test.
Yeah.
And we show up, we got the big test, and the teacher comes out with the test. None of the questions are on the test. This is not like this teacher. The teacher goes by the textbook, Yeah. And we find out that Jeff Hamilton was part of the heist because we may have broken into his locked desk and took it out because, you can pick one of those locks with a paper clip. You just kind of push it in there and the desk drawer pops open.
Sure.
He felt guilty about it during recess and went in and told Mr. Lear, who then switched out the test, and the joke was on us. And we all got an F on the test because he panicked during recess. He's like, what if we get caught? Well, we did get caught because you went inside and confessed it. And then Mr. Lear threw him under the bus and was like, well, thank you, Jeff. Some kids do have some scruples. It's nice to see that. And we're like, oh, is it Jeff? Guess who's getting beat up at the next recess?
Heck yeah.
Buddy.
That's not asking for an ass kicking. That's begging for an ass kicking.
Ass kicking. No
Good
kidding.
Lord.
Well, listen, guys, get your condoms now. If there is a shortage of condoms this summer, you can blame it on the Paris Olympics. Yeah, a condom story attached to our beautiful athletes going off to the Paris Olympics this summer. That story is coming up here about 8:52. Hang tight.
It's the KQ Morning Show, 92 KQRS. Zep, Tony, Candace, and Steve Gorman are the KQ Morning Show, 92 KQRS.
I'm Steve Gorman. This is the KQ Morning Show. It's Wednesday, March the 20th. This is an Olympic year. The Summer Games in Paris, France, kicking off soon. The first Summer Games since the Tokyo Games back in 21. Of course, the 2020 Olympics delayed thanks to COVID. The 21 Games in Tokyo introduced something for the first time. It was called an intimacy ban. Because of COVID-19, athletes were prevented from getting into close contact. That included hugs, handshakes. They were even asked to avoid singing and chanting together. Suffice to say, they were definitely not hooking up. Okay,
No.
That's not what was happening in Tokyo in 2021. In Paris, the city of lights, the city of love, in 2024, that will not be the case. The Olympic Village has been supplied, or will be soon supplied, with over 300,000 condoms. Going into the Olympic Village. And this is not new. This is something that has been happening during the Olympics forever. The 1996 Summer Games were in Atlanta, Georgia, and I was then a resident, and I knew a few people who were ancillary connected to the games, and the whole talk of the thing was the Olympic Village was then converted to Georgia Tech dormitories. Like they built all the dorms for the athletes, and then Georgia Tech said, thanks, we'll take those. And that's how it went. And the stories from literally from the day the Olympics started were just about you have these athletes who've trained in total anonymity, most of them in sports nobody cares about except for during the Olympics, if even then, and they toil and they work and they just have these monk-like existences, and then the minute their event is over, they're ready to party.
It's on. Well, imagine it's like spring break on steroids.
Yeah.
All these people are, because you're young, the hormones are raging, you're in the peak shape of your life, and you're all really beautiful, and I mean, in a way that like Greek gods, and
it's really true.
Yeah, many of you single, away from home, and it's on. That's how really Tinder took off. It was years ago. There was the story about they had 300,000 condoms at the Olympic Village. I forget which one it is. Doesn't matter. Mm-hmm. And they had run out. We were talking about the story. They had run out of condoms, and they were bringing in an emergency airdrop of condoms to the Olympic Village, and they blamed it on Tinder, this new hookup app, and these athletes were able to jump on and go, hey, someone's like 400 steps away from me. You're beautiful. You want to hook up? Yep. Meet you in the bushes. They were banging all over the place, everyone, anywhere, all the time. And I guess it makes sense.
Sure it does. I mean, everything you just said, these are the literal Greek gods of today. And why not? My God.
Yeah.
I mean, like you said, spring break it's a reward for what? Sitting in class for a few months and getting through the winter. My God, if you're an Olympic athlete, you deserve something. And if a casual, careless hookup with someone from Finland is your reward, hey, good for you. It beats what kids are getting into in spring break anyway. And by the way, that's a real thing. There is a new shtick happening in Florida during spring break. I mean, I'll back when you're a kid and like the new thing is the Irish car bomb or whatever shot is the new thing, or there's a new shot called a Hollywood. It's amazing.
Yeah, I'm old enough. I remember Sex on the Beach.
Yeah,
when the Sex on the Beach shot first came around and everybody was doing it.
There's a bar in Florida now, and this is the new trend in South Florida. People order a $30 hurricane shot. $30 for a shot, and it's one bartender who's doing this. Her name is Ayana Callas, and she has a little something that she says, well, my alter ego is Hurricane Ayana, and this is basically how this works. You order a $30 hurricane. Liquor choice is yours. Your shot is whatever you want it to be. She puts the shot in your mouth. She has a shot glass, like she holds it. It's like a tube. She has the end in her mouth. She leans over, drops the open end of the glass into your mouth, so you swallow the shot. She then throws a pitcher of water in your face and then literally slaps you as hard as she can twice on each cheek.
Slap shot.
Hence, hurricane.
Oh, I like it. Slapshot would have worked, too. I was in a bar. I'm trying to remember which one it was on 7th down there. But, yeah, they had before the Wild game, you'd go in and they didn't slap you. You were supposed to do it to each other. Your buddy, you'd just take a shot of Southern or something, and your buddy would slap you across the face. That didn't last long because it always ended up in a fight. But I like this one, yeah.
Well, this woman, this gal's she's making a fortune, by the way. She's a college student, and she's wearing a bikini. And very fit and an attractive young girl. And she's just got these bozos. Like, again, they're paying $30 for a shot that cost that establishment 30 cents at most. And what they get out of it is soaking wet and slapped about the head and shoulders.
Yeah, humiliated.
And there are videos on Instagram because they all want to post it on their Instagram video. Sure. And I kid you not, she's not laying back. She's whipping the shit out of these dudes. And I just think to myself, I'm good. Thanks. I there was never a time in my life when I would have been like, oh, I got to do that. I got to have someone throw a pitcher of water on me and slap me in the face really hard. Are you kidding? It's spring break.
What we put ourselves through for a good time,
I guess so. I guess that's a good time. Sure. That's fun.
Yeah, you're young, you're stupid, that's what spring break is about. It's like I mentioned, we went down and we were in Fort Lauderdale's where we did our spring break, and we were at a super cheap hotel that does not exist anymore. I don't know what it is, but I was subsequently down there years later with my children, not during spring break, and the Breeze Inn is gone. They mowed it down, put something respectable in there, but they emptied the pool because of all the shenanigans during spring break, with the kids out there peeing in the pool pool, I guess, whatever they were doing in the pool. So the year we got there, it was empty. And that didn't stop us, pulled all of our mattresses out of our bedrooms, threw them in the pool, and then had like a cannonball contest into the pool, into the mattresses.
So great. I love that.
You're going to find a way. And, of course, people got hurt.
Well, yeah.
That was the fun part.
Of course it is. It's when you're the one who walks away unhurt, you feel like you have just completed one of these Olympic events that we were talking about. You're like, I'm the one. I'm the gold medal winner. Now for the condoms. Yeah, of course. That just leads right to it. What's going on with all the mustache scene? This mustache scene in Minnesota do you think of it as a strong scene? Are there a lot of? Is this a facial hair kind of area? People very serious about their mustaches.
Well, I don't know if it's just here, but I have been noticing a lot of mustaches lately, like just solo mustaches.
Yeah.
And before I kind of got tied down or whatever, I was getting kind of into it, and then now it's just kind of grossing me out.
A lot of brew pubs,
Really?
you'll see stashes.
Yeah, I've been seeing so many solo stashes, and
I had one yesterday for an hour. I hadn't shaved in a few weeks, and I shaved everything but the mustache, and then I just do that just to wait for Rosemary to notice because she does not like it. And she literally didn't notice. I mean, I just like, what do I got to do? But she's busy. She was working on something. We're dealing with Chauncey, and he's still in his legs in a cast, and we got a lot going on in the house. And I was just like scratching it, like yellow. But she said for the first time, she goes, actually, I don't hate that. Like maybe because it's got some gray in it now or something, and I'm like, well, that did it for me. I'm like, no, I'm not. I don't want a gray,
Yeah, leave the soul patch. Get yourself a Colonel Sanders suit.
Yeah, well, that's a whole different. But yeah, I could totally get that going. But I was like, no, come on, it's like Ringo, White Album, just the stash. It's a pretty good look. But I've tried it in the past. It never, ever, ever is a good look. But the reason I ask about the Minnesota mustache scene. There's a website. It's a real estate website called Estately, and they did a study of Google shopping searches, and by every state in America, they said, what's the weird product every state shops for more than anyone else? And as you may have guessed now, Minnesota, more than any other state, searches for mustache wax.
Oh,
really?
Shaping wax.
Handlebars.
Yeah. I mean, the guys that can pull that off, and some guys really pull it off, and it looks good. It's a signature, I don't think any one of us could really pull it off. The whole waxing
When
of the
I
mustache.
just see the words mustache wax, what I think of is that bicycle with the huge front tire.
Yeah.
I picture a guy on a beach in the sleeveless, like one-piece leotard bathing suit with the stripe, faded red stripes, and he's just on the beach with barbells. Just and
that straw hat on
and that mustache. That's just what I see. That guy. So if you're if you're buying mustache wax and you don't have that kind of mustache, you're doing it all wrong. That's the way I see it.
Well, if you're going to give a proper mustache ride, you got to wax it up. Maybe, I don't know.
In Colorado, and this may or may not be because they've legalized weed for longer than anywhere else, the people in Colorado, more than any other state, are searching for the Borat Mankini.
Well, that's what? Are they still making those? What, do you got to find that on eBay? That's the Borat Mankini, still around.
Yeah, I was just looking at pictures of Mankinis the other day. I don't know.
Okay.
What is
that? We were playing some interesting game, and I had to choose between a Mankini and something else. And I'm just, I'm...
Hold on. What did you choose the Mankini over?
Bikini.
Okay. Gotcha. People in Oklahoma, more than any other state, are shopping for zombie survival kits.
Well, hey, man, it's right around the corner.
Yeah.
It's going to happen, and they're going to have the leg up on us, and we're going to be going, oh, man, I wish I was a little more paranoid.
So, Minnesota, mustache wax. Wisconsin says, I'll see your mustache wax, and I will raise you truck nuts. The plastic danglers that hang from a trailer hitch.
that
Wisconsin
was cool
searches for those more than any other state.
Yeah, that was cool for exactly 1 microsecond. I remember the first time I saw him, I went, "Oh, I see what you did there." And by the time I got the thought out of my head, I felt sorry for the person. I know, friend. I know he's got the big F-150 with the truck nuts. Probably still sporting it, aren't you, Chad? But man, no, no.
So here they go on a list. Every state actually has several things that they search the most for. So Minnesota, let's finish the list. Mustache wax, eye care vape.
Okay, well, yeah, vape.
Parachute pants.
Really?
Is this from the 1980s? Parachute
I
pants?
didn't know that was still a thing.
Parachute
pants.
Yeah, what's the secondhand store, the big one there in Uptown?
Ragstock.
Thank you, Ragstock. I'm sure you can still find some Loverboy-worthy parachute pants there.
That's probably a good bet, yes. South Dakota. Oh, by the way, this is great. South Dakota has more things listed than any other state, as far as I can tell. Actually, no, sorry, West Virginia does. But you're in good company. South Dakota, the one thing they search, the top of the list, I don't know if this is a product or just a concern or just a hobby. Exploding kittens.
What?
What on
please
earth?
Tell me that's a firework. Please tell me that's a firework.
That's what I'm saying. Exploding kittens. I am looking for it. It is a game. No, Exploding Kittens is it's a weird party game. And
all right.
I'm reading about it. And so if you order it, they send you a kitten and an M80. Oh, my God. No, I'm kidding. No, it's a card game.
I was a little worried because we do some redneck stuff in South Dakota.
Well,
and I thought, oh, man, please.
It's a card game for a party, but how many people in South Dakota find that out? And they're like, oh, I didn't know it was that. I thought it was I was kind of hoping I'd get rid of those kittens in the farm. Followed quickly by Cards Against Humanity. So basically, a lot of slow nights out on the prairie still happening in South Dakota.
Yeah, a lot of them. Always trying to make it more interesting.
Well, literally, it goes on. Play-Doh again, Catan, which is Catan, the Bridges of Catan. Isn't that game?
I'm with you now. The kegerator, sure, that's brilliant. Yeah, that's just a refrigerator. Yeah, keg. Everybody knows that.
A slow cooker.
You don't want to have to. Yeah. Slow cooker, well, for all the venison, for all that delicious game we have out there, you got to have yourself a good slow cooker. Probably 90% of meals made in South Dakota are from the slow cooker. You got hot dish in Minnesota.
Yep.
We've just got our stews in South Dakota in the slow cooker.
The list continues. Spanx.
Oh, yeah.
For anyone wondering, there's
in South Dakota?
There's an X on that word.
All right, what's that one again? What is Spanx again?
Undergarment that keeps everything tight.
Oh, yeah. Grandma used to call it a girdle.
Compression.
Yep.
All right.
Yep.
Yeah.
Ivanka Trump clothes.
Probably.
Followed by catheter.
How about that Ivanka look?
And what about this?
Catheter.
Tube top. Again, what year is it? Tube top.
I love it. We're old school, baby. Tube tops, bell bottoms. Bring it, man.
That is pretty strong. All right. So I said West Virginia had the most things on their list. But no, Wyoming's up there too. Let's real quick on Wyoming. Kindle Fire makes sense. You got to get Rubik's Cube, 2024. By the way, ammunition, and then ammunition's followed by bulk ammunition.
That's Wyoming.
P90X.
All right.
The Snuggie. What is that? That's the blanket you with sleeves.
I always wanted one of those.
Yeah.
Oh, don't let the bulk ammo guy. It is the bulk ammo guy that's getting the Snuggie too, isn't he?
Gas mask. Okay. Turducken.
Oh yeah,
wow.
turducken, man, that's huge. The turkey and the duck and they have a bear turducken.
This is a hell of a run. Let's finish Wyoming. I'm just going to lay them all out in one quick burst. Bolo tie, long underwear, dog food, bagpipes, fishing pole, paintball, AK-47, Colt AR-15, bulletproof vest, body armor, inline skates.
That doesn't fit.
I know. I'm gonna skate up skates. And I'm gonna put on a bolo tie and eat some dog food and go shoot some stuff up on skates. What in the world?
Well,
and by the way, when I'm dead, play the bagpipes for me.
Well, that's Wyoming. There's a lot of dichotomies there because you've got, the hardcore rednecks, but then you have the Jackson Hole, recreationalists and granola eaters. Then you have the billionaires that hang out there. All right, what do you consider your home state, Steve?
Me?
Yeah, because you bounced around.
Oh, I have definitely bounced around. Well, I lived, this is weird because actually I lived in Tennessee longer than anywhere else, but I moved there in my mid-30s, so I don't think of that as like home state. I was born in Michigan, left immediately for Maryland. Only 7 years in Maryland, though, and then at 10, I'm in Kentucky. And that's where I was from 10 to 21, and that's kind of where all the stuff happens for the first time.
All right.
Like I always say, the lights come on, at those years.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like, I think I'm there. But then I was in Georgia 13 years after only being in Kentucky for 11. Here's a long-winded answer.
Yeah.
I think it's Minnesota now. This is where I live, so screw it. My home state's Minnesota.
All right. Well, to make this manageable and a little bit more fun and just to drag it out longer than we need to, weird products every state shops for more than anyone else. I'm going to do a couple here from Kentucky. The adult big wheel. Is that just like that's like a trike motorcycle? Adult big wheel? Do they make an adult big wheel?
This is the first I'm hearing of it, and my pulse is quickening. Trust me.
All right. Confederate flag shirt.
Well, sure. Yeah.
Syringes.
It's Kentucky.
Oh, here it is. Ferrets for sale.
Oh, my God. My brother had ferrets when we were in college. I couldn't believe it. I was like, who suddenly decides they want to have a ferret?
Yeah, we'll wrap it up with starter jackets, 90s. Were there starter jackets past the 90s?
God. Yes.
And then explain this one to me in Maryland. We're going to hop up there to Maryland. Comfort wipe? What the hell is comfort wipe?
It's a humid part of the country, and you just you need to give yourself a wipe down more often than you think in the private areas.
And then a little baking soda on top of that.
Bacon?
That's bacon
soda. Bacon, it doesn't say baking. It says bacon,
bacon soda. I don't know what that
soda.
Must be a drink.
No idea.
Cargo pants. Talk about a throwback, and then cargo pants for women.
Didn't know there was a difference.
I just bought some of those. I'm not gonna lie.
Did you really?
Yeah, man. It's all about the
handy
baggy,
if you actually use them,
baggy
right?
style these days,
Oh.
We're going baggy?
Yeah,
I remember, when cargo pants, cargo shorts, I still have the cargo shorts. I rock them. And I put stuff in there because I don't have a fanny pack or a man satchel. And then I get grief from the people I hang out with. They're like, well, nice cargo short. I'm like, yeah, I actually use you're not supposed to use the cargo pockets. It looks stupid, like you're walking around with saddlebags. I'm like, they put a big pocket right on. It's not fashion, man. It's functional. That's what I'm talking about. We've heard a lot of stories about people stealing dogs. Lady Gaga, her 2 French bulldogs, the number one stolen dog in the United States. There are several breeds. You've got to keep an eye. We've had it happen here in the Twin Cities. People carjacked, and they'll take them because of their dogs, and I guess, sell them on the street. There's a big market. But stealing a cat, an armed cat robbery, not a cat burglary. And we have some audio from this one. It's weird because think about stealing a dog. A dog's going to come. All you need is a treat. But think about trying to break into someone's home and steal their cat. Good luck even finding it.
That's what I was going to say. You want to get a hold of Milo Gorman? Good luck.
That story's coming. Hang tight.
Connect with us on the KQ Talk and Text line. 651-989-ROCK. That's 651-989-ROCK. 92 KQRS.
I'm Steve Gorman, and this is Candace Wheeler's Laugh and Smile. No, I'm sorry. It's the KQ Morning Show.
Laugh and smile. Isn't it nice to make people laugh and smile?
Laugh and Smile with Candace Wheeler. Mornings on KQRS 92.5.
Listen if you want.
Listen if you want. How about, hey, by the way, I haven't busted out the old school rock voice in a while.
No,
Tony Lee, what's going on with that weather?
I like to throw it as radio laugh as well.
Ew, stop it.
Yeah. Gross.
When I first started doing radio hits as a touring musician, man, I'd walk in and it was like Hartford's Morning Zoo. I mean, everybody had the Morning Zoo, and you'd sit down and it'd be like the rock guy and the rock gal, and they looked more like rock people than the bands because you're just like tired and you're on tour, but they look like they're about to go on stage, and they'd be like, oh, what's it like on the road, Steve? And I'd just be sitting there going, this is ridiculous. Man, the early night, that transition from Sunset Strip to grunge, we were like right in the middle of that, and it was really weird because you'd go to the same station a year later, and there would be this guy. The first time you'd be in, the guy looks like a roadie for Guns N' Roses, like but cleaned up a little. And he would be like, and it would be like, we've been rocking here on the Eagle for 13 years, and we play more rock hits than ever. And then within a year or two, that same guy has got like a totally different look, and he's just like, I mean, the grunge thing just took over, permeated even rock stations, and you're watching them fluctuate and try to figure out, like, how do we embrace grunge when we were such a rock guy, and it's weird enough for, like, the bands trying to figure it out, but then you'd see the radio guys doing that, and it was like, wow, this is just, these things are, this is affecting all the ships in the sea, isn't it?
The ebb and flow.
But I used to love going in and hearing those, and then there'd be like the best thing though, like you said, that laugh, man, the rock radio thing. I mean, this is rock radio, but I don't think we're all just kind of speaking as ourselves.
That's right, Steve.
Oh my God.
Candace's laugh and smile hour. I like that. Laugh and smile with Candace Wheeler.
Yeah. Laugh and then smile.
It's adorbs.
Do both. What do we care? East Haven. Let's see. East Haven, Connecticut. Speaking of Hartford, Connecticut, I'm the Eagle. East Haven, Connecticut. Police are on the lookout. 2 suspects broke into a home Sunday afternoon, and they were looking for a specific item from that home. It was not silver. They were not looking for jewelry. They were looking for a cat.
Aww.
They were there to steal a cat. Now, unless that cat is, I guess, like what? Like they got some precious jewels in its stomach or something? Who steals a cat?
They have some, like those Bengal breeds. They look like tigers or leopards, and they're worth thousands of dollars.
We had a Bengal, Ginger. She passed away a year ago. Like right after we moved to Minneapolis, we lost our Bengal cat, Ginger. She was not thousands of dollars. Some of them are. Like some, you can get some breeders.
Yeah, the purebred.
We knew a guy who knew a guy, and it was a pure breed cat, and we got a discount. And I think that we got what we paid for because she got sick at 10 and died. Damn it! But
a discount cat.
But here's the thing. Stunningly beautiful animal.
Nice.
Just bat crap crazy. I mean, literally just mean and ornery, and just like we were all sad. But I mean, Ginger decided early in life that okay, I got Rosemary, and the other 3 of you just get away from me. She had no time for us, and so it's kind of sad. But kind of funny because, like, there's not been one, man, I really miss Ginger. Like, no one's talking about it. Rosemary does, and she'll be very sad. And me and the kids are like, I just feel more at ease when that cat's not in the house anymore. I mean, if Ginger weighed 25 pounds, we'd all be dead. I mean, she would have killed us. There's just no question about it.
Did she have, like, muscles? I love, like, those kinds of cats have muscles.
She didn't have muscles, but she knew how to throw a punch. And there's a video Rosemary made years ago. She's in a chair and Ginger's on her lap, and Rosemary's just giving her little gentle strokes and petting her head, and Ginger's just staring lovingly into her eyes, and then throws a left hook like a George Foreman-esque left hook. And the sound of it hitting Rosemary in the face on the iPhone video, it's hilarious. It sounds like a full-on punch from a human.
Oh, that's great.
And you hear the, ow! Like, it's one of the great videos of all time. But that cat was just ornery, man, just born in a bad mood. And I kid you not, if anybody had broken into our house and tried to steal that cat, they would have regretted it because she would have torn them to shreds. Not a cat you could pick up if she didn't want to be picked up. So anyway, but these guys, they did not get the cat, but they are on the lam now. Of course, they didn't get the cat. You can't steal a cat. I mean, I've known cats my whole life, and only a handful would ever allow themselves to be taken by a stranger. Cats are completely nuts. But one thing they all agree on is just get away from me if I don't know you.
Right. And where do you put it? Put it in a bag.
Put it in a strong bag. Yeah. Yeah, there was
what's this obsession with people wanting to have more than one cat?
What do you mean?
Isn't one enough? Everyone's like, my cat needs a friend, my cat needs a buddy. Does it though? I feel like I've never met a cat that is dying for a friend.
There was a study that came on not too long ago that once you do that, once you have one or another one, then you have that desire to have multiples.
Is that what, like, crazy cat lady thing?
It's like tattoos. How many people do you know with one tattoo?
I suppose.
I
I
have
just
one.
don't get it with the cats. Like, I can understand if your dog needs a friend or something, but for some reason, like, I don't know. My cat, at least growing up, did not need a friend, and I feel bad declaring that for her.
I was going to say, wow. Go ahead and make a decision for your poor
She just slept
lonely
all
animal.
day, and, like, I don't know what...
You know why? She didn't have a friend to play
That's right.
with.
She's depressed.
Yeah, that's called depression, Candace.
Oh, my gosh.
It's called capression, cat depression. It's real. Google it. I have to go back to the fact that I just said, who do you know with one tattoo? And very slyly, Tony went, I have one tattoo.
But I think about getting another one all the time.
How long have you had your one tattoo?
Years.
Well, and I know this, but I've forgotten. Where is it? What is it? Do you mind?
It's a big tiger
Yeah, right, of course.
on my massive
And that's
tricep
on that
bicep
tricep.
combo. Yes.
And it when you got that, it was like a baby tiger. Now it's full grown
Yes.
because you've been lifting so much weight, iron. So you got that tiger how long ago?
Oh, God. Early 2000s.
And so you do sincerely think about getting another at some point?
Yeah, all the time.
Really? All the time?
Let's get
Yeah, like one for my
matching
kids or just
Yeah,
some
let's
other
get
moment.
matching tattoos of your kids.
I will
Let's
another time.
No, Candace, you will not get a tattoo of Tony's kids.
Did you just say
okay?
our kids?
Yeah, she did say that.
I didn't have any role in naming it. That's not fair.
I think if you guys are going to get matching tattoos, they should be microphones. Okay, let's just call
Oh,
it.
that's
yeah.
Isn't that
That's
sweet?
gross.
Isn't that so sweet and weird? I used to say that I would get a tattoo. If I were to get a tattoo, I'd get like a washer dryer set. Or a dishwasher, or maybe the other one was a weed eater, but like full side, like down the whole side of a body, a weed eater down my leg. You know, the foot is where the spool comes out, like a literal life size weed eater. Just something like that. If you're gonna go for it, might as well have fun.
Yeah, something odd, ridiculous.
Or just a window unit, air conditioning unit from a window with like a leaky pipe. You know, the little hose. I mean, just dripping. Something like that. Something like that would be good. The ultimate one would be if you living in the South. I should have just gotten a dehumidifier, big back piece
Well, that would make
of
sense.
a dehumidifier. Way too much moisture in the air around here for me. There is a dad in Ohio who's facing harassment charges right now because he was harassing his child's school. He called the school over and over and over again. They stopped taking his calls. Then he called the police 18 times. And what was his complaint? They're giving my son too much homework. He's 37 years old. His name is Adam Sizemore, and he's facing charges because he was complaining about the amount of homework over and over on 2 days, February 29th and March 1st. He kept calling and saying, you've given him so much homework, we don't have time to hang out. That's what he was saying.
Wow. I mean, I feel that. Like, you don't need to have all this homework, I suppose. I think it's kind of silly. I used to think that all the time in high school is all this busy work crap. Just give me the test.
Okay, and if your parent had called school and the police to complain, what would you have thought?
Well, they would never do that. I don't know.
What if?
I don't know now. You guys are making me question everything.
Making you question everything. Interesting.
I'm just saying, kids these days get a lot of homework, and I just think it's a little too much. Wouldn't you agree, Tony?
Yeah, they do. They get way too much.
Thank you.
The Scandinavian countries would agree. They don't give their kids homework. It's like, listen to me. I'm saying that like in Finland, they don't give homework. It's like the kids in the hall. Mom, in France, kids are drunk. I just feel like I'm saying things. But no, homework is... it is a kind of a draconian, reality of American education. Although I only got into trouble with homework one time, and that was my first day of fifth grade. New school in a new state, and I got there 2 weeks after school started. And my teacher gave me every class. There's spelling, there's reading, or whatever. Spelling class, there's history, there's geography, there's math, there's all the classes. And I left school after my first day in fifth grade with a giant set of books and all the and I had to make up for 2 weeks of homework.
That's not right.
And so I assumed sillily, she said, you don't have to do it all over. You don't have to do it all tonight, but you've got to just do as much much as you can. I said, okay. And I went in the next day, and I had completed, I did all my math, and then I did all my geography, and I did all this. And then she said, okay, pull out your spelling books. And she said, how far did you get? And I said, I didn't do any in that. And she goes, I told you have to do something in every subject. And I said, I thought you just said do as much as I could. She said, but you have to do at least something in every subject. And I went, oh, okay, sorry. And she said, come up to the front of the class. And I was like, I'm in trouble for this? It's my second day. It's 2 weeks of makeup. Yeah. And imagine my surprise when she pulled out a large fiberglass paddle and said, put your hands on my desk. And she gave me what she called a lick. She paddled me right on the ass hard.
You're making that.
I'm not making that up. Bam.
Gosh.
You got a lick. And I'm like, and I was like, you just slapped me with a paddle. Now, I was from Maryland, which I suddenly immediately realized was, like the Narnia. I'm like, oh my God, Maryland was the most amazing place on earth because they didn't paddle kids. Now I'm second day in Kentucky, I get paddled. This is how full of myself I was at 10. I walked right out of that classroom. I went up the downstairs. Right by our room was a staircase, but you could only go down the stairwell. There was, the ups were at the end of the hallway. Like two, you know what I mean? Did
up
you ever have a school with that? Up down.
Yeah, sure.
I went up the down staircase right into the principal's office, the guy I'd met the day before who I thought was my new best friend. And I walked right in there and I said, Mrs. Cloud just hit me with a see-through plastic paddle. It was some sort of acrylic fiberglass. And he was like, what? And I said, she just hit me with a paddle. And he looked at me and said, well, why? And I told him, and he was like, well, what's the problem? And I was like, oh my God. It was like the movie They Live. I realized they're all aliens. Yeah. I thought this guy was going to back me and go kick the woman out of school. And he looked at me like I was crazy.
No, it's part of our policy.
And I rode the bus that day home, not to my home, but to the Holiday Inn. First week of school, staying at the Holiday Inn. Felt pretty cool about that. Got off the bus at the hotel, walked in, told my parents, and they were like, well, what'd you do? I was like, oh, God, I got no help.
Wow.
I couldn't believe it. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, pretty rough. I got 11 licks that year. Kept count of them. All 11.
Dang.
Never more than one at a time. 11 separate incidents. Bang.
Stand there and go. Is that all you got?
I did not do that then. Those things hurt, man.
Yeah.
Mrs. Norfleet, the math teacher, had a paddle. Hers was made out of a really thick leather, and it had holes drilled in it, and we always thought somehow the holes made it hurt more. She got holes drilled in it, so it was extra pain. And she never got me once. I was like, man, that woman is not. She was like an old, angry, crabby gal. I was like, I'm not letting Miss Norfleet near this ass.
How did the other kids react? I mean, did they laugh or did they gasp?
Oh, no. If you laughed at someone else getting paddled, you got paddled. There was a kid named Ronald Babb, and we would give him money, and he would get in trouble and take a lick. Like we'd say, "Hey, Ronald, man, 50 cents," and it was always like at least $1, but we'd all pitch in, and then he would just flat out say, like, "I didn't do my homework," even if he had, and he'd get up and take the lick, but he'd have his $1.
Wow.
Yeah, it's crazy.
He's a professional wrestler today.
I think he's actually running for governor of Kentucky as we speak.
Really?
No, but that'd be great, wouldn't it? That guy used to get paid to get paddled. So this dude in Ohio, back to this, he called the principal of the school and said, you're giving my kid too much homework, used what they said was vulgar language, threatened the principal at one point, and said, I'm coming over there, and you best put your big boy pants on. Oh. Wow. So the school stopped answering. My man then turned it on the local police department, called them 18 times, and he kept asking to talk to the chief of police. And when he was told that the chief was unavailable, he kept repeating this: "I pay your salary." Something tells me you're not in a tax bracket where you're actually paying a lot of their salary. But anyway, they told him to come down to the station, talk in person. They finally sent officers to his house to arrest him. He's been charged with menacing and telecommunications harassment, both misdemeanors. Yeah. Too much homework. I never did homework, and look at how good I turned out. Jeez. Hey, here's good news for everybody who's trying to figure out how to live life with intermittent fasting. You know what that is?
Sure.
You familiar with that? So a lot of people do a 16-8 program, which is this. You can eat during an 8-hour window of the day. Let's say it's 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. All the food you eat happens between those hours, and then you don't eat anything from 6 p.m. to the next 10 a.m. You have 18 hours of fasting, or 16 hours of fasting, 8 where you can eat. Some people I know do it way more extreme. They will only eat from like 12 to 4 or 12 to 5. And overnight and through the morning, now not a bite of food goes in their mouth. And studies have shown, I spoke to a doctor about this once. He said, no, there's really no downside to this. Your cholesterol lowers, your weight drops. It's a really effective for a lot of people. Intermittent fasting is a very effective way for weight loss without bad side effects. Until now. Apparently, intermittent fasting, which has become very popular in the last decade, a new study says it could end up giving you a much greater chance of heart attack.
What the heck?
Yeah, it's weird. Researchers looked at the health records of more than 20,000 adults. They found a 91% higher risk of dying from cardiovascular disease if you've been following the 16-8 eating schedule. It's not clear why that would be the case because every other research done shows lower blood pressure and lower cholesterol. I think what leads to the heart attack is just sitting there going, 9 more minutes till I can eat. Because that last hour of the intermittent fasting, you're just losing your mind. That's the anxiety and stress of waiting till the clock strikes whatever to eat. That's what's leading to heart attacks.
Or that's all you're doing. If you're relying on that to be your only form of weight loss, you're avoiding exercise, working out.
Yep.
So then you have the diminished heart health.
Well, I don't feel so bad. I used to be really good at that until they started refilling the vending machine here on a regular basis. And now I'm just like, those cookies and those Cheez-Its I have to, because I get really hungry at like 9 o'clock.
They're reasonably priced, aren't they?
Yeah. Tell ya. No, but I mean, I still try to do that. I try not to eat until like I get home.
Well, you did great today. All you had was those famous Amos chocolate chip cookies. That's a
you had
healthy
most
snack.
of them. I would just keep your mouth shut over there, Gorman.
Well, I'm not up here saying, look at me, I'm a spin instructor.
No, I'm just saying I used to, I used to be, whatever. Shut up.
Whatever. Whatever. Shut up. There it is.
To say it out loud, so I stopped buying snacks.
I was just trying to push you to the breaking point, and now we found it. Whatever. Shut up. It's time for a history lesson. Let's do it.
Now it's time to learn.
Oh, we're going to learn March 20th. 1954, Milan High School from tiny Milan, Indiana, with an entire enrollment of 161 students, beat a giant school called Muncie Central in the final game of the Indiana High School Basketball Championships, one of the most famous high school basketball games ever. It's the storyline for the movie Hoosiers, the 1986 Gene Hackman, Dennis Hopper film Hoosiers, which is great. That movie is absolutely fantastic.
Hickory.
Norman Dale, come on. How great is that? I had a chance to audition for Hoosiers. I was given the heads up that there was a high school gym in Louisville, Kentucky on a Saturday morning in 1985, and they were auditioning. They needed a bunch of white boys, 6'5" and under, who could play basketball. And I was one of those white boys who could play basketball, and I'm 6'3". And the assistant basketball coach at my university was in on it, and he said, hey, man, you should go to Louisville on this day, be at this school at this time, and audition. Can you act? And I said, sure, I can act. How hard can it be? I know how to play ball. And I thought, well, I'm going to go to that thing in the student center on campus, the ride board, where you just put a piece of, I need to get to Louisville on Friday, this date. And then somebody will call you in your dorm room and say, I'm driving. If you pay for gas, you can ride. And then you say, sure. I went to go do that, but I waited until late Friday afternoon the day before and did not get a ride to Louisville. I did not get to audition for Hoosiers. And that's why I'm not sitting here with an Oscar.
Yeah, you could have been so famous. You could have written a book.
I could have been somebody in Hollywood. I should have been a star, and it would have all started with Gene Hackman, the gentleman's gentleman, coaching me in Hoosiers. That
Dennis Hopper could have been your drug daddy.
Can you imagine? What if I'd gotten that role? A young, innocent, 20-year-old Steve Gorman gets under the wing of Dennis Hopper. And then they find me in literally in a little like a side creek in Indiana somewhere, face down. That poor kid wasn't ready for the big time. Thanks, Dennis Hopper. That would have been bad. Don't know how they would have explained that one to my mom. Well, you met Dennis Hopper, and these things happen.
Get the KQ Morning Show podcast wherever you listen. 92 KQRS.